My mother divorced my father because he beat her. He was rich, though, and got custody of me. My mother refused to turn me over, contending he beat me too. This simply wasn't true. However, I guess Mom didn't want to give him any satisfaction. I felt too sorry for her to tell anyone the truth. My mother hid me at one of her childhood friends' houses in Texas. The judge put Mom in jail until she revealed my whereabouts. My father hired a private investigator to find me. I called the woman I stayed with Aunt Helen, although she wasn't really a relation. She, too, was divorced with a daughter named Tracy. Aunt Helen now hated all men. She lectured me incessantly on how I had to be faithful to my mother and not contact my father under any circumstances. One fateful night as we watched TV, my whereabouts, which had enjoyed some brief national attention, became news again. The announcer read a report that my father had contracted even more private investigators. These would now begin contacting all of my mother's known acquaintances. My aunt watched the conclusion of the piece and turned to me. "John," she said quietly, "I knew the time would come when they would search for you here. I have a plan. But I need your complete cooperation. Will you help your mother and me?" This was quite a lot of pressure to put on me. My mind was in a frenzy. I simply nodded. "Thank you, John. As you know, some bad people will stop here soon looking for you. But they won't find you here. Do you know why?" I shook my head. "They won't find you. Because you will be turned into a girl. Tracy and I will transform you into such a convincing vision of femininity that no one will ever guess you were once a boy. Right, Tracy?" "Oh, Mom, what a great idea. John will make a foxy girl. He can probably wear most of my things and his face is almost too pretty for a boy already. Let's start right now. What do you suggest, Mom? Skirt or slacks? Since we want to prevent him from being identified as a boy, we'll need to go overboard on making sure everything about him just screams female. That means no pants at any time and lots of girlish touches even in his most casual moments. We have to go overboard on lace, lingerie, heels, makeup, the works." I forget most of the details of that evening except that I went to bed wearing one of Tracy's nighties. My hair had been subjected to a dizzying number of processes and then wound up in enormous rollers covered by a giant pink cap. My hands had been coated with skin softener and placed in white cotton gloves for the night. My face had been slathered in cold cream. Considering the strange sensations I was experiencing, it was amazing how quickly I fell asleep. I was awakened at 6 the next morning by Tracy. "Get up, sleepyhead. We've got a lot to do today. Go and wash your hands and face while I get your outfit ready." I obeyed. Returning, I saw that Tracy had made my bed and laid out a bewildering array of lacy apparel. A yellow dress and a pair of girls' pumps. She handed me a pair of pale blue panties and let me modestly slip them on under my nightie before I took the nightie off. Next came a matching bra and dark brown pantyhose. She padded out my bra with cotton balls and taught me how to put on a blue slip by sliding it over my head. At this point, she wrapped a plastic cape around my neck, sat me down, and brushed out my hair. "Oh, it's darling. No one will ever suspect you're a boy." I sat still while she applied makeup. The smells were strange, as was the feeling of my hair tickling my neck. Finally, she removed my cape and let me get up. She held out my dress and let me step into it from the top. "So you won't mess up your hair." I later learned that the style was a shirtwaist, yellow, with a hem hitting me a few inches above the knee. Tracy asked me to button the top. It was difficult because it buttoned backward. But I finally got it right. She helped me slip into the brown leather slingback pumps. They had medium heels and it took me a while to walk in them, but Tracy was patient. Real girls take a long time to learn how to manage their heels, too. "You're doing fine." After she was satisfied, she had me wrestle with jewelry clasps until I was sporting a gold choker necklace, a charm bracelet, an ankle bracelet, and 4 rings. Finally, she sprayed me with perfume and led me downstairs to breakfast. It certainly felt strange masquerading as a girl. I had to watch my feet to keep from tripping in the heels, and I found myself attracted to the nylon legs and feminine pumps that were mine. My aunt made a tremendous fuss when I entered the kitchen, making me stand still as she walked around me. It was weird wearing girls' clothes, but I tried to make the best of it and play along. After eating, I started to learn how to do girl chores. My aunt slipped an apron over my head and tied an enormous bow in the back. I was handed a pair of rubber gloves and told to do the breakfast dishes. I had an easy enough time of it, but I kept having to peer over my breasts. A strange feeling came over me as I realized that boys would be attracted to me in my disguise. I tried to get used to my new identity. But I couldn't ignore how the hosiery hugged my legs. How the heels changed my posture. Eventually, I finished up the dishes, cleaned up the kitchen, and joined my aunt and Tracy in the living room. "John," my aunt began. "Tracy and I were just saying that we need to call you something feminine." "What's your favorite girl's name?" I stammered that I had never thought about it. "Well, then, how about Heather?" "I just love that name." "Don't you, Tracy?" "Wow, Mom, that's great." "Okay with you, Heather?" Consistent with most of my other activities in the last 2 days. I simply nodded dumbly. "Well, Heather, we're about ready for your public debut. My friend Debbie runs a beauty parlor and she's agreed to give you the works. Tracy, get Heather set up with a purse." Before I knew it, I had a purse stuck in my hand and was propelled out the front door. What a clatter I made in my heels. The sight of sunlight bouncing off my yellow dress filled me with fear of discovery. I made my way as fast as possible to the car and jumped in the back seat. The drive into town was uneventful. After my aunt pulled up in front of the beauty parlor, I opened the door and slid out as I always have. The difference was that in a dress, I succeeded in having it ride up to my waist. 2 boys whistled appreciably at the leg show I had provided. Tracy giggled as I turned several shades of red. We entered the beauty parlor and Debbie introduced herself. "Oh, Helen, he's adorable. We'll have him all dolled up in no time. Please put on a robe, honey." I went behind a curtain and struggled out of all the clothing. Put on the short pink terracloth robe and rejoined Debbie. As soon as I sat in the chair, Debbie and 2 other beauticians practically attacked me. One girl waxed my legs and gave me a pedicure. The second installed ceramic nails and pierced my ears. Debbie, meanwhile, cut my hair, gave me a perm, and plucked my eyebrows. Although most of the procedures were uncomfortable, I still got the impression that I was pampered. While I sat under the hairdryer, Tracy handed me fashion magazines to read. I couldn't hear over the roar of the dryer, but Tracy would point to an outfit and then point at me, indicating that I would look good in it. My hair was styled and I was sent to get dressed again. My nails made everything more difficult, but I managed to put it all back on. The pantyhose and slip felt different against my hairless legs. I returned to the chair and waited while Debbie restored my makeup. The trip home was uneventful except for my sore earlobes. Once there, my feminine training shifted into high gear. Tracy had me put on a pair of spike heels at least 4 inches tall. She balanced a book on my head to teach me how to walk convincingly, while I minced back and forth. She read me teenage romance novels and quizzed me on the girls' actions. "What would you have done if you were Sarah? Would you wear a long prom gown or a short one? How would you have dressed for that big date with Bob? Do you think it's embarrassing wearing those little cheerleading skirts? What do you think that wedding gown felt like?" Before long I was concentrating on the questions, only occasionally thinking about managing my heels. Aunt Helen came in after about an hour and gave me a few pointers. Put one foot directly in front of the other. It will give you a wiggle. Keep your legs together as you walk. You should feel your nylons rub against one another with every step. After another hour, My feet ached. Tracy let me change into a pair of flats and had me practice sitting in a chair, crossing my legs and then getting up. The goal was twofold: to keep my skirts unwrinkled and to avoid displaying more of my feminine underpinnings than I wanted to. It turned out that I tended to be too modest. A girl is used to putting her legs on display every day. We don't think twice about flashing a little thigh and the boys love it. As long as your panties don't show, it's probably okay. Sunday school. We'd moved here a few months ago and I quickly made new friends, both at school and in the neighborhood. There's a place called Cooper's Quarry which is now a formal garden with paths, benches, flower beds, an orchard and a glade. It used to be an adventure playground and according to the group of kids I'd befriended, it was totally ace. They spent many hours playing there, and the more dilapidated it became, the more fun they had. Then the council decided it was dangerous and removed all the fun stuff, replacing it with flower beds and benches which are only good for OAPs and parents with pushchairs. A few weeks ago, we were passing through Cooper's Quarry and reminiscing about how much fun they had there, as well as grumbling about how boring it is now. I could only take their word for it since the space was redesigned before we moved to the area. Climbing frames, elevated walkways, rope swings and a death slide sounded loads better than what there is now. Looking back, I'm not sure who started it, but it didn't take long for the rest of us to join in, stomping on the flower beds, uprooting shrubs, breaking branches, booting the bins and benches over and generally destroying or disturbing whatever we could. The act of vandalism was front-page news in the local paper, which stated that one of the gang had been caught at the scene and the others ran off. That one was me, but I didn't grass my mates up. I'd have got my head kicked in if I had, and no one wants to be friends with a grass, so keeping stum and taking the rap all on my own was, I believed, in my best interests. Being a minor meant they couldn't print my name in the paper, nor could the authorities fine me for the damage caused, make me do X hours of community service or anything much. The most they could do was make me attend Sunday school, which sounded really boring. The judge who heard my case said that I'd have to attend Sunday school for a period no less than 48 weeks and no more than 48 months, and that my attendance period would be closer to 48 weeks if I did the decent thing and gave the authorities the names of my accomplices. I refused and claimed that they were some kids I'd just met and I didn't know their names or where they lived, but they knew I was lying, I knew I was lying, and I knew that they knew I was lying. I figured it would be a normal Sunday school, and having briefly attended one when I was around 8 years old, I figured I knew what to expect. It was really boring. The teacher would read us Bible stories and encourage us to ask questions about God and Jesus, then we'd sing some happy-clappy Christian songs and talk about prayers. After a month or two I stopped going because I could think of better ways to spend my Sundays. Mum told me that this Sunday school will be nothing at all like that Sunday school. It isn't anywhere near a church for a start, and it won't even involve any Bible readings. How's it a Sunday school then? I asked. It's a school you attend on Sunday, my mother bluntly retorted. I can't believe that you've got yourself into so much trouble, young man. We've only been here a couple of months. It wasn't my fault, it was the others who wrecked the garden. And it was you who were caught, she stated. Are you going to name the others? She asked. I can't, I replied. If I grassed them up, I'd be in even more trouble. I can't imagine you being in even more trouble than you are now, Liam, my mother snapped. I tried to explain the unwritten no grassing rule and imagined the consequences if I did grass on my friends, but Mum said I was an idiot, and yet again claimed the right thing to do, other than not getting involved in the first place, is to confess the names of my accomplices. How long is 48 weeks? I glumly asked after her latest lecture ended. Well, there's 52 weeks in a year, so 48 weeks is 11 months, she replied. And 48 months is 4 years, she added with hefty sigh. I'd already worked that out for myself, and when you're only 11 and a half, 4 years is an incredibly long time. I know. I gulped. Still, it's only a Sunday school and it's only once a week. It'll be really boring, but it's not like I'd be doing a 4-year stretch in Wormwood Scrubs. Mum was livid with me after my hearing. Not only have I been found guilty of reckless vandalism, we've also got social services on our back, which means regular visits from a welfare worker. I've been grounded indefinitely by my mother, and aside from having to attend Sunday school, I'm also subject to an official curfew. This means that I'm not allowed out of my house between 6 p.m. and 7 a.m., Monday to Friday, and between 6 p.m. and 7 a.m. Friday to Monday, unless I'm accompanied by my mother or a named minder. Despite my name being kept out of the local newspaper, all of my teachers and seemingly most of the kids at school knew it was me that had been caught vandalizing Cooper's quarry, and all of them frowned on me, all apart from the kids I was with on that fateful night. They praised me for not grassing, and that made me feel a bit proud, but only a bit. The prospect of attending Sunday school seemed so mundane that I didn't bother telling any of my mates about it. I'm currently ranked quite highly for not grassing them up, and they'd only think it was some sort of boring Bible class and take the piss. I did tell them about my curfew, however, and that if I break it then all the police and PCSOs would be out looking for me. It's highly inconvenient for my social life, but it does carry some kudos amongst my circle, and I can still see my mates at school. A couple of days later, Mum mentioned something about a Sunday school uniform. A uniform? I retorted. Why do we have to wear a uniform? It's only Sunday school, it's not like it's school. I sneered. You'll have to wear a uniform because that's the rules. Mum replied. You remember the last time you went to Sunday school and each week, there'd be a handful of children who'd just been confirmed? Yeah. I cautiously replied. The boys always wore smart trousers and a white shirt and tie. Mum said. And the girls always wore white dresses with white tights. I reminisced. They did. Mum replied. After a short silence, I asked what that's got to do with the Sunday school I'll be going to, reminding my mother that it's not a Bible study group for happy-clappy youngsters. Mum told me I was correct, then added that the uniform is similar to what the children who'd been confirmed wore. So it's just trousers and a white shirt? I asked. Not quite. Mum replied. Shirt and tie? Nope. Mum said. Well, what then? Guess. Mum said. She was enjoying this. I dunno. Well. I mentioned the boys in their smart trousers and white shirts, Mum said, and after a long pause she added, and you mentioned the girls wearing dresses. I shrugged. The penny still hadn't dropped. Mum's lingering expectant expression turned to one of exasperation. Sometimes, Liam, you're so dim that I wonder where I got you from, she impatiently sighed. Everything needs to be spelt out for you, she gasped. Right, she began. The Sunday school you're being sent to is a correctional school. Yes? I gulped and nodded and meekly said yes. Being a correctional school, it's very strict and has plenty of rules by which you must abide. Yes? I guess. I mumbled. And one of those rules is that you have to wear a uniform. If you say so. I do say so, Liam. Mum snapped. No one expects you to like the uniform, but being a correctional school, you have to wear it, like it or not. Yeah. I get that. Good. Now bear that in mind, because everyone at this Sunday school, regardless of whether they are a boy or girl, has to wear a dress, she clearly stated. My jaw dropped a little. I may have even shook my head. Mum assured me with a slow, shallow nod and a pursed smile. I'm not wearing a dress. I stated. Well, you just said that you understood that you have to wear the uniform whether you like it or not. Yeah, but that was before you said it was a dress. It's not a dress, is it? They can't make us wear dresses, not the boys anyway. All the while my mother sat nodding. Eventually I said, why? I guess it discourages the boys from wandering off if they're bored, my mother replied. Put them in a dress and they should stay put, she added. I can imagine that working, not that it makes the prospect any more palatable. You're not going to make me wear a dress, are you, Mom? It's not up to me, Liam. I don't make the rules, she reminded me. I dropped my head. So I have to wear a dress every Sunday for the next 11 months. At least. Mum replied. You'll probably get used to it after a couple of weeks. I won't. I retorted. Well, maybe you won't and maybe you will, you'll just have to wait and see, she said. A couple of days after that, on a Friday I recall, I returned home from school and Mum enthused, there's something in your room for you. What? I expectantly asked. Go and have a look. I dropped my school bag and eagerly headed to my room. Mum wasn't far behind me. I don't know why, but the very last thing I expected to see was a white dress hanging from my wardrobe door. I guess it was the tone that Mum said there's something for you. It hinted at something I'd approve of. I stopped in my tracks. My jaw dropped. Mum's hands rested on my shoulders. I bought it today, she said. What do you think? It's horrible. I managed to murmur, before gulping so hard that I almost swallowed my tongue. Well, I didn't expect you to like it, she said. But I had to get you one before Sunday. You could have told me. I muttered. Would you have rather chosen it yourself? Mum asked. Maybe tried a few until we found one you liked. She suggested. No. I whined. I guess under the circumstances, it is best that she just went and bought one whilst I was at school. I briefly imagined being shown around a dress shop and Mum holding them against me. Do you want to try it now or wait till Sunday? No. I yelped. No, you don't want to wait until Sunday, or no, you don't want to try it now? Mum asked. I don't want to try it now, or ever. Well, Sunday it is then, she said. She removed the dress from its hook and admired it. I noticed its buttons on the back and gulped. I imagined myself being buttoned into it and prepared myself to swipe it away if Mum went to hold it against me, but she didn't. Where are you going? You don't want to try it on, so I'm putting it away, she said, adding somewhere that it won't get damaged before Sunday. I couldn't get the dress out of my head for the rest of the day. I'd only seen it briefly, but its image lingers in my mind, its collar, its sleeves, its skirt, and all those buttons tiny on the back. I imagine it being quite tricky to remove myself. I maintain a glimmer hope that my mother's just trying to scare me and that I won't really have to wear a dress for Sunday school, but deep down, I know that I will. I consider running away from home, but that'd only land me in even more trouble, and being a mere 11 years of age, I knew that I wouldn't be able to fend for myself. At least it gave me something else to think about. I imagined hiding out in the woods, making a camp and foraging for mushrooms and berries. I visualized being a real survivor like Bear Grylls, but the reality would be more Stig of the Dump. I wonder about stowing away on a cargo ship, being found and made to mop the deck, or being cast ashore on a desert island with palm trees, pirates, and treasure, but round these parts the only boats are on the canal, so I doubt I'd get anywhere very quickly. I imagined myself as Oliver Twist, heading for London and being taken in by Fagin's gang and making my living thieving and begging. Then I remember when Oliver wakes up in the big posh house wearing a frilly white nightshirt, and all of a sudden my meandering thoughts came to crashing end and an image of me wearing that dress immediately pops into my head. I gulp and dread the prospect of actually wearing it. Tomorrow is Saturday, so it'll be okay. It's Sunday I'm worried about. Since I'm under curfew and in a whole lot of trouble. I'm not allowed to play video games or watch any of the TV shows I like. I complained that I was bored. You could tidy your bedroom before you have your bath, Mum suggested. I claimed that my bedroom was tidy, and added that I had a shower yesterday. Well, tidy your room again, Mum impatiently suggested, before telling me that I will be having a bath tonight. In fact, it's bath night every night from now on, she added. I apathetically tidied my room, which kept me occupied for all of 5 minutes. Mum eventually ran the bath and watched over me, making sure I used the nail brush and both shampooed and conditioned my hair. I felt like a 6-year-old, having to bathe in the presence of my mother. Mum said she didn't care how I felt. I'm not letting you out of my sight until I know I can trust you again, she informed me. I felt hard done by, but I couldn't blame her. But when I was sent to bed the moment that I was out of the bath and dried, I mostly blamed my mother as I grumbled myself to sleep. After a long dreamless night, I awoke. And just as I'd done every morning since my hearing, I spent a blissful few moments before remembering that I'm in big trouble and everybody knows it. I shamefully moped downstairs and have a bowl of cereal for breakfast. I asked if I would be allowed to watch SMTV, but it was a definite no. What can I do then? I moaned. Well, you can get dressed for a start, Mum suggested. I skulked back to my room and sulked on my bed for a moment. Being grounded is so boring. I huffed and puffed and sighed before opening my drawer. Mum, I hollered. Yes, Liam, Mum said, stepping into my room. She must have been right outside, waiting. Where have my pants gone? They're in your drawer. They're not mine, I claimed. The contents of my underwear drawer have changed since yesterday, and quite significantly so. Yes, they are, Mum said. They're new. I bought them yesterday when I bought your dress. I don't have to wear my dress today, do I? I gulped. No, that's for tomorrow, Mum told me. But I gulped and peered back into my underwear drawer. These are girls' undies. They are, Mum replied. They're also your undies. Now come on, put some knickers on, she said, grabbing a pair and handing them to me. Then I'll show you how to fasten a bra, she added, removing one of those. But boys don't wear bras. It's only a training bra, Mum replied, holding the garment from its straps. It's not a proper one, she added, as if that made it any more acceptable. After much huffing and puffing, I pulled on the knickers with great reluctance. They're white with lacy trim and a little bow stitched on the front. Mum showed me how to don the training bra, and trying to fasten the clasp behind my back was really fiddly. I complained that I couldn't do it, but Mum said honestly, Liam, if a girl can do it, I'm sure you can, as she fastened it for me. I hung my head as she straightened the chest band and adjusted the shoulder straps for me, then gave me a vest to wear over it, a girl's vest with lacy trim and a little bow to match both my knickers and training bra. I felt incredibly self-conscious in my girly underwear as Mum got out a clean pair of jeans and a jumper. Why do I have to wear girls' undies under boys' clothes? I moaned as I pushed my feet into my jeans. So you won't forget how much trouble you've got yourself into, young man, she told me. Here, she said. Mum gave me a pair of socks, girls' ankle socks no less. I stuck out my lip and pulled them on. The knitted diamond pattern became apparent as it stretched over my foot and ankle. There's no mistaking them for boys' socks, and pleaded with my mother to let me wear some of my old ones. No one will see them when you're wearing shoes, she reckoned. They might, I blurted, before launching into a tirade about it not being fair that I have to wear a dress on Sunday and that she's being horrid by making me wear knickers today. Mum told me that if I misbehave in any way, she'll remove one item of clothing from my closet and replace it with an item of girls' clothing. I don't want any back chat, any whining or moaning, no getting you knickers in a twist, no strops or tantrums, nothing but your very best behavior, all day, every day, she informed me. Otherwise you won't have any boys' clothes left, understood? I gulped and nodded. Mum was right about me not forgetting about the trouble I'm in. I might have forgotten that I wore a pair of knickers beneath my jeans, but the presence of my training bra was ever apparent. Being a Saturday, Mum had to do the weekly shop, so we drove into town. I looked at my feet in the footwell and it's obvious that I'm wearing girls' socks. I worried that someone might see them and hoped that no one would. It should be okay once I'm walking, I figure. I recalled the new contents of my underwear drawer and asked my mother if I had to wear knickers every day from now on, since there was nothing else in there. Mum said I did. I gulped. Even at school. Millimeter him. Mum replied. I gulped again. But, what about PE? I asked. This isn't backchat, I hope. No, I whined. Honest. I added. Good. Mum said, before telling that I don't have to worry about my classmates seeing my knickers when I'm getting changed for PE because I won't be doing PE at school for a while. Why not? I asked. To spare your blushes, she replied, grinning at me. Plus, the other boys might get jealous that their underwear isn't as pretty as yours, she added. I doubt it. I murmured. The shopping trip itself was uneventful. Mum went to the fishmongers and pie shop, a home and garden store and Superdrug where she bought herself some lipstick and a big tub of moisturizer before browsing some fashion stores, then doing the big shop in a supermarket. Normally I'd just moan and wish she'd hurry up, but today I was unusually patient. I did begin to moan when Mum wouldn't let me have my usual sugary breakfast cereal and told me to grab a box of boring bran flakes instead, but Mum reminded me that every time I moan or whine or complain, she'll replace my boy clothes with girls' clothes, one item at a time. Good boy, she said as I put the bran flakes in the trolley. You can stop sulking now, otherwise you might find yourself wearing a nice nightie instead of your PJs whilst you're eating them. I gulped and bit my lip, knowing she wasn't joking. I spent the afternoon in a state of complete boredom. Not allowed out, no TV, no video games, none of my books inspired me as I've leafed through them numerous times in recent days, and the talk radio station Mum insisted on listening to neither intrigued nor entertained me, and not being allowed any snacks between meals only added to the tedious monotony. Having my bath at 7:30 p.m. was the most eventful thing I'd done since we returned home from shopping, which should explain just how dull that Saturday was. What time does Sunday school start tomorrow? I asked. 8 o'clock. In the morning? Well, it's not going to be 8 o'clock at night, is it? No. I just thought it'd be after church, around lunchtime, like the last Sunday school I went to. It's going to be very different than that one. Mum replied. What time does it finish? 4 o'clock. In the afternoon? Yes, in the afternoon. 8 hours. Blimey, I thought. What are we going to do for all that time? Well, I don't know. Mum replied. I suppose you'll find out tomorrow. I frowned. I wasn't at all looking forward to it. Can I watch some TV tonight? I asked, adding please for good measure. No, Liam, it's bedtime. Now? I whined. But it's Saturday. Bedtime is after bath time and it doesn't matter what day it is, Liam, she informed me. I stuck out my lip to make it clear that I wasn't happy about having to go to bed before 8 p.m. Sulk all you like, young man, my mother said before sending me to my room and telling me that she didn't want to see or hear from me before morning. I sulked myself to sleep and was woken by my mother. What time is it? I yawned as she opened my curtains. 10 to 7, she replied. Come on, up, she said, pulling my duvet off me. It's too early. I moaned. You've got to be at Sunday school for 8, remember? Oh. I groaned. I hadn't woken up enough to remember that prospect. I don't really have to wear that dress, do I? Yes, Liam, you really do, she sternly stated. I ate breakfast in my pajamas, then went to the bathroom to wash up and brush my teeth. When I returned to my room, Mum had laid the dress on my bed and was rummaging through my underwear drawer, tossing a pair of knickers and a training bra onto the bed. With great reluctance, I donned the knickers, but unlike yesterday's pair which were quite close-fitting, these were baggy and gathered around the legs with frilly lace, and running along the bottom half of the backside was 6 rows of ruffles. I fiddled with the bra but Mum fastened it for me. Arms up, she said, before dropping a white satin slip over my head. She told me to put my socks on whilst she unfastened the buttons that run down the back of my dress. And make sure the patterns are nice and straight. Once I had my socks on, Mum held the dress open and I hesitantly stepped into it. I hung my head in shame as she fastened the buttons. "These are really fiddly," she said, and she slowly fastened them, one by one. It seemed to take ages, and once all the buttons were done, she wrapped a broad white satin sash around my waist and tied it in a big bow. "That looks nice," she said, but I could only imagine how bad it looked. Finally, she strapped a pair of girls' shoes to my feet, and like the rest of my outfit, they were also white, save for the shiny silver buckles. They had heels, but not high ones, barely an inch I guess, but they were heels nonetheless. I stuck out my lip and began to sniffle as a tear trickled down my cheek. Mum wiped it away and said that she understood why I was upset. "But remember, Liam, it was you who vandalized the garden at Cooper's Quarry and you who chose not to reveal the names of your accomplices, so you've only got yourself to blame," she reminded me. Thankfully there wasn't a soul on the street as we exited the house and got in the car. Mum had twisted my satin sash around to the front so it wouldn't get squished between me and the seat, and the big bow looked as bad as I'd imagined. The Sunday school was in a part of town that I wasn't familiar with, in a single-story building with a wooden facade and its windows covered with wire mesh to stop them getting smashed. It didn't look very welcoming, and neither did the area. Mum pulled into the car park, but I really didn't want to get out of the car, although I knew I'd have to. When I had, she twisted my sash so the bow was at the back and put a girly white handbag over my shoulder. "What's that for?" I moaned. "It's a handbag," she told me. "Your dress doesn't have any pockets, so you need a bag," she said, before taking me inside. I gulp as I'm faced with 10 or 12 other kids, all wearing white dresses with either white tights, knee or ankle socks, and each carrying a white handbag. Their dresses weren't identical, but they were similar, and all of them bore a miserable expression on their faces. A grown-up approached and Mum introduced herself. "You need to go in the other entrance, out the door, to the left, round the side, there'll be a queue," the woman told us, so out we went, following her directions around the building where a queue of about 5 kids waited with a parent or guardian. Mum made small talk with the adult nearest, about the weather mostly. The queue didn't move very quickly. In fact, we shuffled forward a couple of feet every 5 minutes. Mum checked her watch and said I'd be late at this rate as it's already 5 to 8. When we finally got to the front of the queue, I was asked my name and taken into a small room. Mum followed. A buxom lady with a stern expression looked me up and down. She asked if it was my first time and I nodded. "And you've brought your nappies?" she asked. I said, thinking I'd misheard but knowing that I hadn't. "In your handbag, Liam," my mother said. It never crossed my mind to look inside the bag, and when I did, there inside was several factory-folded disposable nappies. "What are they for?" I asked. My voice was shaky, my hands shakier. "They're for you, Liam," my mother said. My jaw dropped as I turned to face her. "Face me, boy." The buxom lady instructed me to give her one of my nappies, and with a hesitant, trembling hand, I did exactly as I was told. "Put your arms up like this," she said, raising her hands high above her head. I hesitated but raised my hands, only for my mother to whip her hands under my dress, pull my knickers down to my ankles before swiftly lifting my skirt all the way up and holding me and my skirt in bear hug. The lady quickly fitted the nappy as I wriggled and writhed in a futile attempt to at least hinder its fitting. My knickers were pulled up over the nappy, or so I thought. In the scuffle, they'd dropped off my ankles and lay discarded on the floor. My mother let go of me and told me to put my knickers back on. The buxom lady picked them up and handed them to me. "Put them on, Liam," my mother repeated. "Unless you don't want to cover your nappy." "Why do I have to wear a nappy?" I whined. "I'm 11. "The same reason you have to wear a dress, it's the rules," my mother replied. "I don't make them. I don't necessarily like them either, but like you, I have to abide by them," she said. I perched on a stool and threaded my feet through the frilly leg holes, then stood and pulled them all the way up. In the quick scuffle, I realized that the lady had not only fitted my nappy but also pulled a pair milky see-through rubber knickers over it, which left the pastel-colored design on the front of the nappy perfectly visible. It's a butterfly, and I felt physically sick just looking at it. I wasted no time pulling my big baggy knickers over it and realized that they're not knickers, they are a nappy cover. Mum led me out of the changing room and the next boy was called inside. We entered the main hall again, where the children and parents' guardians loitered. All the kids wore similar but not identical white dresses with either white tights, knee or ankle socks, and carried a small white handbag, slung over their shoulder. Mum began to faff with the bow on my back. "You actually look quite nice considering," she said. "Hopefully this experience will do you good." "How can this do me any good?" I asked. "Well, if you'd known that vandalizing Cooper's quarry would put you in a dress every Sunday, would you have done it?" Mum asked. I shook my head and hung it. "There you go," she said. "Do I have to wear every Sunday too?" I glumly asked. Mum nodded. "All day." She nodded again. "But, what if I need the toilet?" "You do know what a nappy is for, don't you?" she said. I gulped and hung my head. A loud clap grabbed my attention and that of everyone else in the hall. "Is everybody present?" a lady said, before asking the boys and girls to assemble. Mum shoved me forward and I did what the others did, stood in one of several rows facing forward. The lady welcomed us to Sunday school and told us that we've got lots of fun activities to look forward to, and for the benefits of those of us who are here for the first time, she listed some of the activities. The book group didn't sound so bad, and games was too ambiguous to draw a conclusion. The group discussion on morality and misbehavior sounded both serious and complicated, but when she said, "And before we break for lunch we'll do some dancing," a shiver went down my spine. She told us to assemble ourselves into 3 groups of 7 and 1 group of 6. I glanced around nervously, as did all the others, before hesitantly gravitating towards each other. I joined the group that had assembled closest to me. "Hi," I timidly said. The others muttered similar, unenthusiastic greetings. At first I presumed all the others were boys like me, in spite of the fact we're all wearing white Sunday dresses. There's 27 of us in total, but only 4 girls, one of whom is in my group. She looks as shy and as timid as the rest of us, but at least she looks normal in her dress, even if it is a big young for her. I wonder if she's wearing a nappy too, and the same of the others. Maybe it's just some us. I really don't know. I cast my eyes to the edge of the hall where my mother and other grown-ups stood, but they'd all gone. Whether they were in another room or had gone home, I didn't know. One of the staff attended our group and asked a couple of the kids if they'd enjoyed Saturday club yesterday. "Yes, miss," they humbly replied. They didn't sound very convincing. "And I understand you'll be joining our after-school club next week, James," she said to one in particular. He gulped and nodded. "Right," she said. "Why doesn't our new boy introduce himself by telling us how he came to join Sunday school?" I croaked as all eyes fell upon me. I wasn't prepared, and in a nerve-induced stammer, I confessed to being part of the gang that vandalized Cooper's quarry. I was asked why the rest of the gang weren't here, and I stuck to my story and claimed that I didn't know them, adding that I was only one caught at the scene. "You mean you didn't reveal their names?" the woman said. "That's very different to not knowing their names, and we don't tolerate lies here." I restated my claim and was told that I'm not expected to reveal their names, but am expected to tell the truth. After a little deliberation and an assurance that I wouldn't have to reveal the names of my accomplices, I admitted to knowing them. "Good," the woman said to me. "You've made your first step towards rehabilitation. James," she said, turning to the boy. "Why don't you tell the group why you'll be attending the after-school club next week?" Just as meekly as James told his story and we all listened. "But, you know that the activities are compulsory, James. It doesn't matter if you don't enjoy them or feel silly doing them," the woman said, claiming that the activities are all designed to benefit us, even if we don't realize what that benefit is. Hopefully you'll learn to join in and play nicely at the after-school club this week, and hopefully you won't have to attend next week too, she said in a patronizing tone. It appears that if we don't take part or engage with the activities at Sunday school, we have to attend on Saturdays too, and if, like James, you still refuse to actively participate, then there's an after-school club too. Standing here today, in my girly shoes and socks and my pretty white frock is the worst thing I've ever endured. I can't imagine the prospect of having to attend every day, and James doesn't look too happy about it either. We were told to grab a stool each and assemble them in a semicircle. They're stacked at the far end of the hall and I follow the others to fetch one and can't help but observe their dresses. All wear white sashes around their waist, tied in an ornate bow at the back. The bows bounce and tails flutter as they briskly trotted toward the stools. Their skirts sway this way and that and their shoes clack on the hardwood floor. Some of their frocks are decorated with lace, some with frills and some have puffed sleeves, straight sleeves or no sleeves at all. I return with a stool and place it in position before perching upon it. I'd somehow forgotten about my nappy until I felt it cushion me. The boy next to me tells me not to sit on my sash. Oh, I meekly say as I arrange my bow so it hangs unhindered behind me, just like the others. The woman in charge of our group perches on a stool and begins to read us a story, a morality tale about a child with options but often takes the wrong path. She asks questions and prompts us to think about our answer for a moment first. Questions such as, do you think it was right or wrong to give an honest opinion in X scenario? Or how would you have felt if someone embarrassed you with the truth? I guess the lesson was that there's a time for telling the truth and a time for being tactful. For example, my mother asks if I like her new hairdo. I should be complimentary rather than apathetic, or worse still, honest. If the police ask if I knew the kids I was with the night I got into this mess, I should have said yes rather than lying. I could have honestly refused to give their names, but denying that I knew them was wrong, although I still had my reasons for lying about that. I'm sure you did, the woman told me, before asking how long I have to attend Sunday school for. 48 weeks. I replied. Minimum, I added. And how long do you think you'd have to attend had you not lied about knowing your accomplices, she asked. I didn't know. 24 weeks, she informed me, before claiming that if I'd named them too, I'd have only been here for 12 weeks. 3 months, 6 months, 11 months, it all seems like far too long, but in retrospect, maybe I should have admitted to knowing them yet refused to name them, that way I'd have only had to come for 6 months instead of 11. We spent the best part of an hour discussing the ins and outs of the story she'd read, as well as discussing our own misdemeanors and how we might have handled things differently. It was a long, boring hour to spend perched on a stool with no backrest. Right, let's have some fun, shall we? The woman suggested after we'd returned our stools to the end of the hall. She asked for 2 volunteers and told them to fetch the net stands, 2 long poles on weighted bases between which a badminton net hangs. We play balloon volleyball, but since there's 7 in our group, 1 stands out, leaving an even 3 on each side. But they don't just stand and watch, they're given a skipping rope to play with until 3 points have been scored, then they swap places with 1 member of the winning side. Playing balloon volleyball is far more sedate than proper volleyball, but it's still good fun. I almost forgot I was wearing my dress for a few seconds here and there. When it was my turn to stand out, I confessed to not knowing how to skip when I was given the rope. Well, the important thing is you try, the woman told me, and try I did. I also failed to get into the swing of it. After 5 minutes out of the volleyball game, I hoped I'd be able to put the rope down and begin enjoying myself again, but the woman in charge of our group suggested that I continue practicing my skipping. Every girl I know can skip with a rope, she said. Why you boys struggle to play such a simple game, I honestly don't know. I continued trying and failing to skip as the others in my group played balloon volleyball. I felt like such a ninny in my prissy white dress, Pella in knee socks and girly shoes, struggling to do something that girls find so simple. Afterwards, the woman asked if I have a skipping rope at home. I shook my head. She suggested that I ask my mother to buy me one and spend the week practicing. The next activity was the book group, and since it's my first time, all I can do is sit and listen to the readings and discussions. One is reading a book called Heidi, others read Mallory Towers, Anne of Green Gables, The Lost Princess, What Katie Did and Pollyanna. They all sounded like boring girls' books to me, and listening to the passages read out, they were definitely boring girls' books. At the end of the book group session I was given a book to read. Can I choose a different one? I asked, on being given a book titled A Little Princess. You can have a different one after you've read this one, I was told. Now put it in your handbag so you don't lose it, she said, before asking if I've wet my nappy yet. I shook my head and felt myself begin to blush. It's embarrassing enough having to wear one, let alone being asked if I've wet myself in front of the others. I have, Miss, one of the others meekly admitted. Okay, the woman said. You can have a dry one after we've done some dancing. This turned out to be the worst activity of the day. The hour-long English country dancing class involved having to hold hands with a boy, curtsy, and follow the steps whilst some jaunty folk music blared out from a battered old cassette player. I found myself stepping back and forth, twirling in unison, skipping and prancing whilst my dress swished this way and that, and I hated every minute of it. I felt like such a sissy, and by the looks of it, everyone else did too, girls included. We stopped for some lunch and the boy who'd wet himself was directed the changing room where I'd been battled into mine. At least 10 others followed him, including the girl from our group. I figured everyone does have to wear one, which somehow seemed more bizarre than just some of us. I remember in primary school, there was one boy whom the teacher claimed kept going to the toilet to get out of class. She got into big trouble after making him wear nappy one day and refusing to let him go to the bathroom. She may have felt justified in doing what she did even if it was wrong. The boy really did have a weak bladder. Why we have to wear nappies I've no idea. Making us boys wear dresses makes sense because, as Mum said, there's no way I'm going to run off dressed like this. We dine on triangular sandwiches with the crusts cut off, washed down with weak cordial in spill-proof plastic beakers. Afterwards, we played balloon relay, which is more fun than it sounds, but after an hour of country dancing, anything would be an improvement. Another sit-and-listen session followed, which was long and tiresome and wasn't helped by the fact that we had to sit on stools with no backrest. It was during this session that I timidly raised my hand and told the woman that I'd wet my nappy. She told me to wait until the end of the session. I could have cried as I sat for 25 minutes in a wet nappy, but I didn't. Having a wet nappy removed at the age of 11 is the most embarrassing thing I've ever endured, far worse than having to wear a dress. The lady who changed it was very nice though. She told me that I was far too old to be put into a nappy like a baby, and showed me how to put one on like a big boy should. Why do we have to wear nappies? I asked after fastening the humiliating garment around myself. This one has a picture of some flowers on the front. We're not babies, I added as she gave me a dry pair of rubber knickers. Why do you have to wear a dress? She asked. You're not a girl, she added. I sighed and shrugged and said I didn't know. Oh, I think you do. You didn't end up at Sunday school for doing well at school, did you? No, miss. I reluctantly replied. I pulled on the rubber knickers. Their tight elasticated leg holes bit into me. These were followed by my big baggy knickers with their rows of lacy trim on the bum and even more ruffled lace around the legs. They're not so baggy over my nappy. I returned to the main hall where the others were playing lava floor. A variety of mats, benches, tables and chairs had been arranged in a maze formation, and the game is to go all the way around, stepping from mat to table to bench to chair without touching the wooden floor. The whole point is that it's tricky, and that's what makes it so much fun. Have you enjoyed yourself? My mother asked when we were dismissed. You looked like you were having fun, she added, having watched the last 10 minutes of us playing lava floor. You must be Liam's mother, one of the staff members asked. Yes. Mum replied. How's he got on? She asked. Oh, fine for a first-timer, the woman replied. He's been trying to skip with a rope but needs a bit more practice. I suggested he ask you to get him a skipping rope to play with at home. Oh, yes, of course. Mum replied. He's got a book to read too, so he'll be able to actually participate in the book group next week, the woman said to my mother. She turned to me and added, So you need to make sure you read it. Yes, miss. I meekly said. The woman turned back to my mother and made me blush by informing her that I've had one nappy change and that I should still be dry, before asking me if I was. I gulped and blushed and nodded. And he's been shown how to put his own nappy on, so next week, we shouldn't have to put him in one, she said. They said their goodbyes and we left. I didn't even notice that I'd been holding my mother's hand until we got to the car and she told me to let go. Can I put my own clothes on when we get home? I asked as she started the engine. Oh Mum. I whined. I've worn this all day, I said. And you'll wear it for the rest of the day, she replied, and that's exactly what I did. The following week, Sunday school was much the same apart from three things. 1. I arrived already wearing my nappy, having reluctantly donned it myself. 2. I was a little more adept at skipping with a rope, and 3. I had to read aloud a passage from A Little Princess in book group and answer questions about it. I'd read the entire book in a week, hoping I'd get something better, but was told that I'd have it for a month and was advised to read it again, making sure that I gave it my full attention rather than quickly skimming through it. It wasn't that bad, I guess. I felt sorry for Sarah, losing both her father and her privileged lifestyle, but even after being forced to work as a maid, she never lost her dignity. It reminded me of the first time I had to sit and wait for my wet nappy to be changed. Looking like a little girl, feeling like a toddler, and trying my best to preserve my dignity by not crying like a baby in front of everyone. Although I kept that out of my short talk on the book. The country dance class involved a clapping routine, which is really hard if, like me, you don't know the routines, but the women who manage the Sunday school keep saying things like there's nothing wrong with not being good at something, practice doesn't always make perfect, trying to be better is better than being better, and all sorts of other stuff that I don't really get, but the basic message is that we try our best. In the afternoon, between the sit and talk sessions, I was paired up with one of the girls who was charged with teaching me some clapping routines which each had their accompanying rhyme. I couldn't practice the routines at home on my own, but I could rehearse the rhymes, and I was told to learn the first 10 by heart in time for next week's session. At least I didn't have to wear my dress on the other days, but I did wear my knickers every day, even at school. Mum would make me wear a training bra after changing out of my school uniform and expected me to wear until morning. I always took it off at night, but Mum would check and wake me, telling me to put it on, so after a while I just kept it on rather than being disturbed around midnight. Mum claimed that it's the same for all the boys at Sunday school, adding that some of them have to wear their nappies for bed as well as a training bra. Why? I asked. We're all too big to wet the bed. Probably because they kept taking their training bra off when they were told to keep it on. Mum smugly said. Just like the dresses we wear at Sunday school stop us from running off, the girly undies I wear from Monday to Saturday serve as a constant reminder of Sunday school and supposedly stops us from forgetting what we're learning. I suppose I'm lucky that I don't have to wear it at school too, or a nappy at night either. There's already a big pack of them under my bed, and I believe that the fact that I willingly wear them on Sunday is why I don't have to wear them more often. Some of the others complain about nappy rash and have to wear a special cream, but they're the ones who go to Saturday club and the after-school clubs too, and therefore wear theirs a lot more often than I wear mine. My mates questioned why I wasn't doing PE class all of a sudden, and I told them that I've apparently got asthma. I spun a line that I had a medical check when I got arrested and it was discovered then, and claimed that the doctor said that I can't do PE in spite of me feeling fine. I discussed this lie at Sunday school because that's what we're encouraged to do, and the tutor dissected the excuse I'd used. She explained that in a roundabout way, I'd actually told the truth and changed a couple of facts. You substituted Sunday school for asthma, you did have a medical check when you were arrested, but not the sort that would reveal you had asthma, and you substituted your mother pulling you out of PE class for a doctor, she said, calling it a defensive lie. None of your school friends need to know about Sunday school, unless of course they end up here, she said. And there's another reason why I really can't grass my friends up. If I do, they'll know exactly what I've been doing every Sunday because they'll be doing it too. I imagine after that scenario, they'd all gang up on me at school the next day and quite literally kill me. May not actually killed, but I imagine I'd get beaten up, and badly. After attending for a couple of months, I resigned myself to the fact that this is what I do every Sunday. I don't like it, I don't look forward to it, and I'd rather not have to do it, but I know I've got to go, and whilst I'm there I've got to try my best. Otherwise I'll face having to attend the Saturday club and potentially the after-school club too. From the group discussions, I learnt that the Saturday club is such the same as Sunday school but includes a 2-hour ballet class, and everyone, boys included, all wear a pink leotard, pancake tutu and white tights with pink shoes. The rest of the time they wear normal girls' clothes, being a dress, skirt and top, even shorts, and partake in the usual discussion groups, games and a drama class. The after-school club involves doing their homework and little else, and unlike Saturday club and Sunday school, which are hosted at the rundown community centre on the rough side of town, it's held at their own school. I dread the thought of having to attend that. The boys and girls who do each discreetly carry their 2 nappies, rubbers, and frilly nappy covers in their school bag all day long. The after-school club is separate from other extracurricular activities and detention groups, and so far as I can make out, isn't really talked about. Stands to reason really, if had to go to a specific room after school every day and don a girl's uniform to spend 3 hours quietly doing my homework whilst wearing a nappy, giving me no excuse to leave my desk. I certainly wouldn't be making a song and dance about it. So here I am, after a few months of Sunday school, trying my best to be honest yet tactful, to play fairly and nicely with the others, to dance and skip to the best of my ability, to engage myself in the reading and discussion groups and immerse myself in the books we're given to read. If I don't give it my all on Sunday, I'll have do it all weekend, and I'll do all I can to avoid attending that dreaded 2-hour ballet class. The second book I was given to read was Heidi, and it was really boring. I had it for a month and read it from cover to cover 5 times. I'm currently reading Anne of Green Gables, which is bigger and better but still not great, but just like A Little Princess and Heidi, there's supposedly lessons to be learned from the events and adventures the protagonists have, and every one is discussed on Sunday. The books may be boring, but at least they're better than Bible study. After 6 months, I attend a meeting with my probation officer to see how I'm getting along. Having been told that honesty is paramount, I can honestly tell him that I don't enjoy Sunday school one little bit. It's humiliating and embarrassing, and I can't wait till the day that I no longer have to attend. But until that day comes, I put myself into my nappy every Sunday morning before letting my mother button me into my dress, and I don't complain about it. I don't. The probation officer is pleased that I can finally admit to knowing the accomplices who'd vandalized Cooper's quarry and accepted my apology for lying in the first place. He didn't pressure me to reveal their names though, not that I would if he had. The only good thing about Sunday school is the fact that none of my friends know anything about it. I wouldn't know what to do if they found out, but I have a feeling what they'd do if they did. I'd be shunned and teased, taunted and berated, bullied and belittled, day after day after day. I thought nothing of getting home from school, changing out of my uniform and donning my training bra before some casual clothes. Even going to sleep and waking up in the unnecessary garment felt normal. I can barely remember how it felt stepping into boys' undies, let alone wearing them. My knickers are either big and baggy or tight and stretchy yet always pretty, with lace or ruffles, frills and a bow. As well as my girly knee socks, I've also got tights now, and there's all sorts of different types: woolly ones, thin ones, skin-colored ones, patterned ones, a lacy pair, a pelerine pair and several different deniers. I prefer them to socks, especially now the temperature's dropped, and even wear a nice warm pair under my boys' clothes sometimes. I carry a spare pair in my handbag, along with my nappies, rubbers and reading book, just in case the pair I'm wearing gets snagged, laddered or damp. As my 48th week approached, my probation officer came to the Sunday school to observe my progress. I did everything right, from playing nicely with the others and trying my best when we did the country dancing, to being confident and positive in the discussion groups. He gave me a glowing report to give to the authorities, then dropped one final thing in my lap. Are you ready to reveal the names of the others, Liam? He asked. It's not too late to prosecute them, and if what you say is true, and I believe it is, they did most of the vandalizing, he said. I asked what would happen if I did reveal their names. They'd go before the magistrate, just like you did, and they'll probably end up here, attending Sunday school, he explained. And if I don't? Well, you were told that you'd attend for no less than 48 weeks, he reminded me. And no more than 48 months, he said. Failing to reveal their names will mean that you'll continue to attend beyond the minimum term of 48 weeks. I didn't have to give him an answer there and then. He told me think long and hard about it and we'd revisit the issue on my 48th Sunday school session. I did think long and hard, but ultimately, I chose not to reveal their names, even if that does mean having to attend Sunday school until I'm 15 years old. It's better than the repercussions of me grassing on them. Not to mention them finding out exactly what I go through each and every Sunday, from donning my nappy and being buttoned into a dress, to skipping and dancing and playing clapping games and in part, actually enjoying it. No thanks, even if it does mean each of them going through the exact same routine. I'll keep this to myself and pray that no one else from my school gets caught doing something bad enough to get sent here as well.
It was the 2nd of September in Wichita Falls, and as the autumn leaves were blowing, young Molly sat up in her bed staring sadly as the summer weeks faded away. It was going to be a long day out, she thought to herself, and she was almost already bored about her mother's business convention in Dallas. Molly was 8, and really couldn't care less about the trip, and as she thought about the day, she began to fall back asleep into a deep sleep which was only awakened by her mother's kiss. Her mother, who went by the name of Melissa, was quick to get Molly going, and within 10 minutes they had finished breakfast. Quickly after breakfast, her mother wanted to dress Molly in her favorite flowery blouse for the big day. She quickly prepared Molly and they were off in the car heading south on the freeway towards Dallas. They stopped once along the highway to pick up some food but soon continued to the Marriott Hotel where the convention was taking place. It was a long haul out to Dallas and Molly was bored already, not even considering the 3-hour convention she would have to wait for. Molly was sitting in the waiting room, playing with toys that were designed for 2-year-olds, and she contemplated on the day ahead. She played for hours with the simple toys as she heard the voices of the adults in the convention room. In the last 20 minutes of the convention, she was really beginning to become very impatient over her mother taking so long. Her mother had promised her a trip to McDonald's if she behaved herself, but it was just too long for her interest. She began to squirm and wait for what seemed like an hour. Soon, her mother came bursting out and looking straight to the play area, seeing her bored 8-year-old daughter. She quickly said, "Let's go, sweetie, it's over now," and then took Molly by the hand as she introduced her daughter to her colleagues. She stood there for about 10 minutes speaking about business incentives and profits, which then was ended by a swift exit to the hotel. She took Molly by the hand as they proceeded to the car and they soon were pulling into the McDonald's parking lot. Melissa took Molly into McDonald's, which really she had been waiting for all day. As she entered McDonald's, she immediately went to the play area as her mother ordered a Happy Meal. Her mother was quick to find a table in front of the play area, and soon called for Molly, who climbed clumsily through the tubes and down a slide to greet her mother. "Here, sweetie, I got you a Happy Meal," said her mother, which Molly quickly replied saying, "Cool, mommy, I really like them, thank you." Molly ate up the Happy Meal quickly like any child would do, and quickly went to play in the play area again. She was loving the excitement after the boring meeting and really loved playing in the tubes and slides. After about an hour, Molly was at the top of the slide when she felt like she needed to pee. She decided that it was more fun to stay playing and quickly forgot about it. About 10 minutes later, she really felt it pushing on her, and she knew her mother would punish her for wetting herself, especially her best blouse. She was having so much fun that she decided to just let it go, and just keep having fun with the other kids. She eventually wet herself and she could feel the warmth spreading around her legs, wetting the ends of her blouse and her jeans. After half an hour, her mother began calling her again to come down and get a McFlurry. Molly had forgotten about her wet panties and decided to go, which was quickly greeted by a frown from her mother. Melissa immediately said, "Sweetie, looks like you wet yourself in the play area, are you okay?" Molly had completely forgotten about having wet her pants, and she slowly looked down to see a large dark stain on her jeans. "But Mommy, I didn't even know it happened," stated Molly, as she was almost petrified to see the consequences. Melissa was upset but knew she couldn't get angry with Molly and simply said, "Honey, it's okay, it happens, but let's get you cleaned up and at home so we can clean out your favorite blouse." Molly quickly stood up and said, "But Mommy, what about the McFlurry?" Her mother was already needing to get home to wash her daughter's clothes to assure herself of no permanent staining apart from the fact that she was upset with her daughter. She brusquely said, "Sorry dear, we need to get you home and out of the dirty blouse and jeans." "But Mommy, we only just got here." "There will be no buts," replied Melissa. Melissa walked with Molly to the car and she buckled Molly in the back ready for the trip north to Wichita Falls. They were quickly back onto the freeway northbound and they hadn't spoken for about 30 minutes. Melissa looked into the front view mirror and looked back at little Molly who was sitting on the back seat playing with dolls as her long beautiful brunette hair waded over her face. She didn't look 8 years old at all, nor did she act like one. She called her Mommy and always walked alongside her hand in hand with an innocent stare and want to play. She never cared about trying to look older than she was like other children, and really was like a 2 or 3-year-old. Melissa continued to drive and kept on coming back to the idea that her daughter really wasn't as old as she looked, maybe she just needed a bit more time to grow up. As they went on for many more miles, Molly fell asleep and Melissa was only reminded of the long afternoons when she would lay Molly down for an afternoon nap. Melissa finally drove into the neighborhood of Wichita Falls where they lived and parked the car in the garage. She opened the back door and took sleepy young Molly in her arms and walked into the house. It was now only about 4:15 in the afternoon, and she lay Molly on the couch as she watched TV for about an hour. At some stage, a Pampers commercial came on the screen and she instantly remembered about her thoughts in the car. The commercial showed a baby waddling around the house in just a diaper, with no worries in the world, rather like Molly. The diapers were childlike with plenty of Sesame Street characters and fluffy, comfy, babyish designs. Molly, who was still asleep, looked like the baby in the Pampers Golden Sleep commercial. Melissa could not help but think about Molly as a baby and how nice it would be for the both of them again. Melissa turned the TV off and really thought about what the day had been like. Molly had shown her childish side, like always, and she really just needed a little more time to grow up. Melissa thought that maybe the only way to give Molly that extra time to mature was through treating and caring for her like a young child of maybe 2.5. She remembered that some 6 years ago, she was changing 4 or 5 diapers a day, and this made her think about how it would be now. She could have another baby again, to nurture and care for. Molly slept and slept until the clock showed 5:20, and Melissa was going to share her thoughts with Molly as soon as she woke up. At 5:45 Molly woke up and her mother came in and simply said, "Hey sweetie, did you sleep well? Do you want to watch some TV?" Molly simply nodded yes to watching TV, and so she did for about 20 minutes. At about 6 o'clock, Melissa was getting anxious about breaking her thoughts to her daughter. She decided she would approach her daughter carefully by sitting next to her and coming slowly into the conversation. Molly was sucking on her thumb as she watched TV, and Melissa thought again, and felt better about speaking to Molly about her idea. Melissa began the conversation by saying, "Sweetie, I have an idea for you and me, do you want to hear it?" Molly excitedly turned on her seat and said, "Yeah Mommy, is it fun?" Melissa simply replied, "I think we should talk about it, but it could be fun, yeah." Molly said, "Go on, Mommy," and so Melissa began explaining the day. "Molly, today was a really fun day, and I'm sure you had a lot of fun in the play area. I need to speak to you about when you had a little accident. Now Molly, I want you to be honest, did you really forget about having to do a pee?" Molly replied, "Yes, Mommy, I was playing and suddenly my pants were all wet." Melissa said, "I understand, Molly, it's okay, and that's why I want to help you. It can be really hard to always remember to go potty, and maybe you just forgot. I love you, Molly, and I want to help you to go potty on your own without accidents. Also, Molly, how is school? Is it hard?" said Melissa. "You have had some problems there, haven't you?" Molly hastily replied, stuttering, "Yeah, Mommy, but it's really harsh 'cause it hurts me lots and they call me a crybaby all the time." Molly then began to cry almost in mid-sentence and was in tears. Melissa was sure that she could help her by simply having her wear diapers in the day and night to help her slowly rebuild her confidence. Melissa put her arm around Molly's shoulder and lovingly said, "It's okay, honey, you're going to be just fine. I think I can help you and still make it fun." Molly reassuringly said back, "What's that idea, Mommy? Maybe it'll help me." Melissa said, "Well, I think that you need a little more time to grow, through your potty problem and at school. I think the best way to help you is for you to be my baby again. You're going to wear diapers every day and night and I'll make sure you always get to the potty in a matter of weeks." "Mommy, I'm not a baby," replied Molly. Melissa looked at her and said, "I know you're now, sweetie, but you don't want to have accidents at school and everywhere you go, do you?" "No, Mommy, but still, what will they say at school? I still don't wanna be wet at school though." "You're a very smart girl, you know that, sweetie. Now let's go and get you into a dress and tights and let's go to Walmart." It was about 5 minutes past 6 when they went to the car, but Melissa was sure she was doing the right thing. They drove for about 5 minutes and arrived at a super Walmart where they were bound to have a good selection of diapers for Molly. They walked patiently in Walmart and went to the second aisle where they found an immense selection of diapers, plastic pants, and baby accessories. Melissa walked with Molly along the aisle looking at all the diapers and heading straight for a maxi-size box of Pampers Baby Dry and a packet of Pampers Baby Wipes. Molly said, "I don't want baby diapers, I'm not a baby. These are the only ones you fit into and they are nice and fluffy with plenty of nice pictures on the front." They quickly took the items to the checkouts, paid and were back home in no time. Once home, Melissa told Molly to wait in her room for her to come. Melissa came promptly about a minute later with a diaper in one hand and a baby bottle she had found from years ago, full with warm milk. With the diaper, she brought a bottle of baby powder. As Melissa entered the room, she said, "Honey, I'm gonna leave the milk here and you decide if you want to drink it or not, but I'm gonna put this diaper on you. Do you wanna look at it? It's real cute. Look here, there's Big Bird. And look, he's holding a crane too. These will look so cute on you." Melissa was now on her knees and said, "Now honey, come over here and lie down in front of me so I can diaper you. Now Molly, it's okay to use this diaper for anything, you can do a pee-pee in it or a poo-poo. I will change your diaper as soon as you ask me to, but remember, try to remember if you have to go potty." Molly nodded with her favorite teddy bear in her arms, as she was not putting up any defense against her mother's plans. Melissa laid Molly down on the floor and began by taking off her shoes and her tights. She then signaled to Molly to stand up as she undid her dress. Soon, Molly was just standing there in her panties, as Melissa continued to undress her. "Mommy," said Molly, "will I wear these diapers all the time, like under my dresses?" "Yes, sweetheart, but they will be the most comfortable things you'll ever wear." Molly sat down as Melissa took off her panties, and she was now ready to be diapered. Melissa told Molly, "Now hold up your legs, honey, that's a good girl." As Molly held up her legs, Melissa slid the fresh diaper underneath her soft bottom. She told Molly to lower her legs as she pulled the diaper over her front and sealed it with the tapes. Molly then said, "Silly Mommy, you forgot the powder, which her mother then responded by saying, "Oh yes, silly me, let me just powder you up." She undid the tapes and spread powder all around her genital area, legs and bottom. She probably put a little too much as the diaper had a little powder on the front, looking a little like snow. Molly was now like she was 6 years ago, standing there in a Pampers Baby Dry, the most babyish diaper she had ever seen, with Big Bird on the front and little turquoise colorings around the edge of the diaper. Molly looked adorable and really just a true baby once again. Molly stood up and Melissa patted her on the bottom as if to send her off to play. Molly looked down at the diaper and saw the baby drawings and how innocent she was without a care in the world. As a plus, it was the beginning of the summer holidays and she had all summer to be in diapers. Both Melissa and Molly then went to watch some TV, and generally talked about the new idea which seemed okay with Molly. Melissa thought the diaper looked so cute on Molly as it hugged her legs tightly, making her waddle. Eventually, she could even make her breastfeed and crawl around like a baby. At around 8:45, she went with Molly to her room and put her in her princess PJs, which really showed the diaper bulge. As she pulled the pajama pants on her, she felt the bulge push under the pants, making her really plump. Melissa tucked Molly into bed and made sure she was comfortable. Molly quickly fell asleep after the long day and didn't wake up the next morning until about 10 o'clock. Her mother came in and casually said, "Does my baby need a diaper change?" without realizing her inclusion of the word baby, which Molly, to her amazement, ignored. Molly did not know whether she had wet or pooped the diaper at all and just asked for her mommy to check. Melissa did the finger check, as she had done years ago, and didn't smell anything, meaning her baby had awoken dry. She quickly said back, "No honey, you're dry, let's get you some breakfast." She thought it would be ideal to have baby food, but that was just going a bit too far in her mind. The night before, Molly had slept very well, unlike every night where she would twist and turn restlessly. She had slept in comfort, knowing she was really loved and didn't care even if her mother did play around with her a bit. Melissa just gave her a bowl of cereal, but Molly was actually looking forward to being a baby, and so demanded to have baby food. Melissa, awestruck by what Molly had said, simply said, "Whatever my little baby girl wants," as she cut and mushed up some bananas as baby food. Molly ate like a baby, and made a mess, but she was acting like a baby to get even more attention. Her mother eventually decided to spoon-feed her. Molly began speaking in almost gibberish, saying "goo goo gaa" and "yeth mommy" with a real baby voice. For a week, Melissa thought it would be okay, but then they should really be moving on to easy UPS and eventually panties again as the summer began to end. After breakfast, Molly went back to her room and played in just a diaper, not caring, and even crawled around the house with her diaper in full view. By about 11 o'clock she had begun to feel her bowels moving, as she hadn't gone to poo for more than a day. She continued crawling around the house and for a moment sat with her legs in a V shape as she just glared at the design of the diaper. She looked at Elmo, and the Pampers logo all around the diaper, and felt the fluffy texture to it with the sides folding into her legs, making her feel secure in the diaper. The diaper on the front folded into her crotch area and it was really plump and very babyish, hence she thought, baby dry diapers. Her bottom sat nicely in the seat of the diaper with the pretty Sesame Street characters on the back and little crayon drawings. She knew she was a bit of a baby and enjoyed it to the fullest. She continued to crawl and played with the tapes of the diaper and with her dolls, imagining they were also in diapers. As she was crawling, she felt the movement of her bowels hit her again, and it was getting harder and harder to stop her need to poo. She then remembered that her mommy didn't care if she pooped in the diaper, and she would clean her up. She pretended to be completely unaware of her pooping and let out a small fart which made her feel funny, resulting in a big mushy poo to come out and smudge against her bottom. She didn't find it weird or disturbing, but instead rolled around in her poopy diaper, squishing it even more. In her room, she was on the complete opposite side of the house to her mother, who was in the kitchen. Her room quickly smelled like poopy diapers and she felt so innocent and babyish, but she was loving it. As she moved around in the diaper, she saw the brown mess turn her diaper from linen white to brown. She continued to crawl around the house aimlessly and ended up crawling right beneath her mother. She crawled past her and the smell quickly reached Melissa's nose. She stopped washing the dishes and thought to herself that Molly had actually pooped her diaper, like as if she was 2 years old. She was crawling around the house without having known it had happened and had been becoming more baby-like by the minute. Melissa turned around facing Molly, who was now crawling out of the kitchen with a big brown stain in the middle of the back of her diaper. It was terribly obvious that she had done a big poo-poo in her diaper. Melissa went over to Molly and began to say, "Did baby Molly do a big poo-poo in her diaper?" "Yes, Mommy," replied Molly, which truly shocked Melissa. Without another word, Melissa picked Molly up and took her to her bedroom and laid her on the floor. She quickly glanced down at the diaper to see the brown mess even reaching the front of the diaper. She winced at the smell but thought it was really cute, and deep down the smell brought back wonderful memories. Molly, at this point, was lost in thought and simply asked, "Are you gonna change my big, stinky poopy diaper, Mommy?" which brought Melissa to yet another level, which she kindly responded, "Yes. Baby Molly is gonna get that big, stinky diaper changed." Melissa almost jokingly took off Molly's diaper to see one of the worst diaper messes she had seen in years. Molly had smudged the poo everywhere in the diaper, and this was going to need a lot of wipes. She hadn't changed a baby diaper in 6 years but was looking forward to do it again. She took the turquoise box of baby wipes and began cleaning up the mess while she said, "Wow, my baby girl really made a mess," and continued until Molly was clean. Melissa then took another Pampers baby dry diaper and slid it under Molly's bottom and over her genitals to show another Elmo with toy trucks on the front. She began to think she wouldn't need the cruisers just because the baby dry was such a good fit. Like the night before, she patted Molly's bottom and felt the fluffiness of the diaper as she set her baby off again. Before Melissa let Molly go play again, she took her and spoke to her about the really poopy diaper she had just changed. She spoke to her about how it was okay, but how if she was to go back to school in normal panties by the end of the summer, she would need to stop normally pooping her diapers after about 1 to 2 weeks. Molly nodded understandingly and just went off to play again with her dolls. As Melissa was ironing her clothes that morning, she thought about taking a little day out with her new baby girl. Molly, who was really into the baby diapers, would look adorable in a tight, short dress which would emphasize her wearing a diaper. She thought that they would go to the local park. At about 11:05 a.m. they left for the park with plenty of diapers for a few thorough diaper changes. Melissa thought that Molly might be a little reluctant to peeing and pooping in her diapers in public, but it would definitely build her confidence for the rough school semester ahead. When they arrived at the park, Melissa told Molly to go play by the swings as she got the diaper bag and her own bag. 5 minutes later she came to the swings to see her little Molly happily playing on the swings with a massive diaper bulge. She was looking up into the sky and slowly began to daydream, and she was just loving wearing diapers, as she could feel the warm, soft diaper touching her with every swing. She was in such pleasure that she began to pee in the diaper without noticing as she then went to play on the playset. About half an hour later, she came back to have a picnic with her mother, where her mother didn't even worry about checking her diaper as she was sure she wouldn't wet herself in public again. While they were eating, Molly asked her mother if she could take off her skirt and just sit in her short shirt and diaper as she felt it was hot. Her mother was fine with that, and so Molly began to take off her dress, revealing her yellow, soggy diaper. As she sat there, her mother quickly glanced down to see a diaper with a large yellow patch in the middle. Melissa quickly said, "Sweetie, do you know you're wet?" And of course Molly, not having a clue about the wet diaper, looked down in horror. "Oh no, Mommy, me had an accident, it just happened like that." "Well," replied Melissa, "you're not going to be wearing underwear for a long time if you don't even know when you go wee-wee. Now, let's get you out of that dirty diaper and into a nice new fresh one like a good baby." She took Molly by the hand and laid her down in the grass right in front of her, in public, and to her own astonishment, Molly did not have any problems with it, so she proceeded to changing her daughter's diaper. She undid the tapes and began wiping and quickly brought her daughter up in a clean diaper for the rest of the day. As usual, she patted her daughter's bottom after every diaper change. The afternoon continued and Melissa was beginning to wonder why Molly was just using her diapers without any thought about going to the bathroom. She told Molly, "Dear, really try to make an effort when you feel you gotta go potty, okay?" Molly just said "yeth" in a baby manner and continued to play. By about 5 in the afternoon, it was starting to get dark, with the autumn slowly closing in and Molly was playing in the sandpit all alone, as everyone else had left. As Melissa approached Molly, she signaled for her to come with her, as they were going home. Molly insisted on playing some more on the play area, but Melissa knew that it had been at least 3 hours since she had wet her diaper and she really needed to get her on the toilet at home to start potty training her again. She let her play for 5 more minutes but made the fatal mistake. Molly wet her diaper again, making it very soggy and drooping. At this point, she was in a dress after getting dressed again after the last diaper change and her mother hadn't noticed. Molly didn't know either. Later that evening, when they got home, Melissa took Molly to the bathroom to try to get her to have control over her bowels and bladder again, only to find a very, very soggy Pampers diaper. The diaper had leaked in the car and gone all over her dress, staining it. Melissa still wondered why her daughter hadn't been able to realize she was peeing in her diaper. At this point, it was getting worrying. The night went on and she put Molly into a clean diaper for the night with plastic pants in case she wet the bed at night. As the morning sun rose, Melissa hoped her baby girl would be dry, only to find that she had wet her diaper again. She quickly changed her into a clean diaper for another day at the park. At about 9 in the morning, they left again for the same park in Wichita Falls. As they arrived, there were lots of people and especially a lot of mothers with their children, even babies. Melissa thought it would be a great occasion to meet other mothers possibly with the same problem, but she only found 2-year-old babies, not 8-year-old ones. As they arrived, Molly jumped out of the back of the car in a tight skirt showing her diaper clearly, which the other mothers could clearly see. Molly really didn't care less, and only wanted to play baby again, maybe with other babies. As she ran to the play area, there were other babies wearing very babyish diapers like her, often Pampers. They were just like her, in the same diapers but younger and smaller. Meanwhile, as Melissa sat with the other mothers, she shook their hands saying, "Hi, I'm Melissa, Molly's mom. Molly, come here," she yelled. Molly was too busy playing on the swings to notice, and so the conversation began. Maria, another mother, asked, "Does she still wear diapers?" I could see the bulge in her skirt. "Yes, she does," replied Melissa. "Is it just a bedwetting problem?" Maria questioned again. "Well, not really. She really began 2 days ago to wear the baby dry diapers and I've had to change a very poopy diaper, horrible. And a wet one yesterday, soggy and droopy." "Oh," replied Maria in shock. Melissa began to explain why she was wearing baby diapers by talking about the incident at McDonald's and the issues she had at home. She also said that she would poo in her diaper like an infant and not even notice. Molly, at the time, was playing on the swings with other little children and she felt her bowels were moving again even after 2 days. She began to restrain, hoping not to let out another lump of mushy poo into her diaper, but found it really very hard to do so. She was able to prevent herself from messing her diaper at the moment, which made her happy and feel as if she was still in control of herself, but as she climbed on the long tubes at the play area, she started to move slower, knowing she had to poo. She unfortunately had her legs open wide over the tube she was crawling on, which caused her to let loose a small fart, which her mother heard. As she was speaking with the other mothers, she knew that Molly was going to poo in her diaper and smudge it all over her bottom. Molly was trying to hold on to the poo, but it came out, without struggle, into her diaper, making it warm but also very smelly. She thought she would continue to play in her stinky diaper and then walk over to her mother and ask to eat, as if not to know she had messed in her diaper. Some other children began to point fingers and say that baby pooed in her diaper. "Where's her mommy?" Melissa knew immediately that they were picking on Molly and quickly said to the other mothers, "I think I've got another poopy one on the way," as they all laughed together. Melissa went over to the play area and quickly scooped up Molly and felt the mushy poo press against her arm as she picked her up. Molly decided to say, "Mommy, I think I did a little poo-poo in my diaper." "Yes, I think you did," replied Melissa, who was happy to know that at least she knew she had pooped in her diaper and wasn't completely unaware. As Melissa approached the other mothers, one said, "Hey baby, done a little poopy there." "Don't worry Melissa," said another, "I'll change her." Melissa, not looking forward to another poopy diaper, quickly gave the task to another mother. The other mother, whose name was Jane, quickly told Molly to lie down. She quickly slipped off her dress and saw that Molly was wearing a Pampers Baby Dry diaper. She asked Melissa, "She wears Pampers Baby Dry? Isn't she a little too big for them?" Melissa just replied saying they were a perfect fit, but she was looking for someone's to get her through potty training with. "Funny," said Jane. She began to undo the tapes and she pulled down the front part of the diaper to reveal the poopy mess. She quickly said, "Wow, baby really did do a big poopy, huh?" Molly just pretended not to hear what she had said and swaddled in the grass as she was getting her diaper changed. As she cleaned her, she asked Melissa if she ever needed someone to come look after Molly all day while she was at work, and Melissa accepted the offer with much appreciation. The day at the park was fun, but the next day Melissa would have work again. Knowing she had work, she called up Jane and asked if she could look after Molly for about 8 hours. Jane had a 6-month-old baby and would bring her baby along to play with Molly. At about 9 in the morning, Jane arrived with plenty of diapers. She came in with a portable changing table, bottles of milk, and her own 2 breasts which were full of milk. She quickly put down her stuff and sat Bailey, her baby, on the sofa next to Molly. Molly was just in her PJs, but Jane asked if she could just sit in her diaper for the rest of the day as it would be easier to change her. As Molly took of her PJs, she had wet the night before and there was a large yellow patch on her diaper which obviously resulted in a swift diaper change from Jane. The morning was very slow-paced, but very quickly, Jane was obviously set on making a complete baby out of Molly. As Molly came for lunch, there was a high chair and stuffed teddy bears everywhere as Bailey was being fed baby food. Jane quickly scooped up Molly and set her in the high chair saying, "It's time for baby's lunch, and later I think a little nap with some breastfeeding." Molly was fine with being the baby, but was not sure about the breastfeeding and the high chair. She would have no say in it whatsoever as Jane put Molly into the high chair and began to feed her Gerber baby food. She also gave her a sippy cup full with milk formula. Jane, however, was intent on making Molly poop her diaper severely and to have many diaper changes during the day as to play around with her for a bit. She gave her milk with a fair dose of milk of magnesia in it which definitely would make her poop in her diaper. She began to forcefully make Molly eat the food and within 10 minutes Molly had pooped in her diaper without knowing it, in large amounts, causing the diaper to leak and poo to go everywhere. Jane immediately replied by saying that she was a very bad poopy baby and decided to make Molly's life as a baby the worst it could be. As soon as her diaper leaked, she took her and spanked her bottom, making the poo come out some more. After lunch, Jane decided to put Molly in Pampers cruisers so they could hold more of the poo. At 1 o'clock she took Molly and Bailey to Walmart to buy some more diapers. She looked through the aisle and gave Molly a nasty stare and she vindictively took the Pampers cruisers which were a lot thicker. As they returned home, Molly was taken into the living room where Jane told her to lie on the changing table making baby sounds while doing it as she took out a Pampers diaper of the packet. Sooner than Molly thought, she was wearing a diaper which seemed twice as thick and a lot more sturdy. Jane then took 4 pairs of plastic pants and placed them over the diapers, making it really hard to move for Molly. As she then put her in a tight dress from her wardrobe, she took her out to the park where the diapers were extremely obvious. She took 3 bottles which all contained milk of magnesia and a lot of baby wipes. As she arrived at the park, she took Molly out first and told her that she would be crawling and waddling all day at the park, and that if she got up to walk she would be spanked. She instructed her to go and play on the swings as she changed her daughter in a new pair of Pampers swaddlers. As Molly crawled, it seemed so much harder than the Pampers Baby Dry, and she couldn't think of a worse diaper to be wearing. Inside, on the other hand, it was the most fluffy diaper she'd ever been in, and in some ways she was looking forward to poo into it, as she knew that Jane had put a lot milk of magnesia in her bottles. At 2, after a good hour of playing, Jane took Molly and told her to sit in a V shape and listen to everything she said. She slowly took off her shirt, and to Molly's horror she was going to breastfeed her. She lowered one nipple out of her bra and showed Molly how to suckle from it. Molly suckled on her breasts and eventually peed in her diaper. After she had been breastfed, Jane hadn't realized that she had peed in the diaper and sent her off to play. As the diaper sagged from the pee, it was harder for Molly to play normally. She loved the fluffiness and plump of the diaper and the cute design it had with a special Blues Clues design. After an hour of playing, she went back to Jane but forgot to crawl. Jane took her by the hand and pulled down her skirt and began to spank Molly on the bottom when she realized the diaper was sagging from her having peed in it. She was enraged, and took her to the van and pulled her 4 plastic pants down to eventually reach her diaper. She did the finger check and quickly realized that Molly had wet the diaper immensely. She lifted the diaper, noting how cute the baby designs were, and she let Molly play with one of the diapers as she changed her diaper. Molly was soon in another Pampers cruiser and into her 4 plastic pants, but now, without a skirt. As Molly asked her for her skirt back, Jane quickly grunted, "You're gonna drink this down real good," and stuck the nipple of a bottle in her mouth. Molly began to instinctively suck on the bottle as she crawled back over to the center of the play area. Within 20 minutes, as she played on the seesaw with the other children, she began to feel an urge to poo, but she had expected that to come at some point. She was sitting and looking at the diaper as she moved up and down. The diaper hugged her and her crouch seemed protected and she felt safe, like a baby in a crib. The diaper was so babyish with little Blues Clues and Elmos everywhere. The diapers smelt really nice, like babies, really pure. The diapers had little green lines all around the sides and a big Pampers logo was in the middle. She was lost, looking at the diaper with fascination when she realized she had pooped in her diaper. She must have pooped clumps and clumps of mushy, watery poo because the crouch grew and turned brown. It had made the diaper at least a fourth bigger than it originally was. The cute patters had gone brown with the mushy poo which she felt pushing against her legs. In her mind, it felt great being a baby who pooped in her diaper without knowing. She felt the poop mushing all around her legs and all around her bottom. Meanwhile, Jane was reading the paper and was sat in the grass at least 30 feet from her. The other little girls left because they had smelt her mess and thought it was disgusting. Jane hadn't realized a thing, but Molly kept playing in her massive, slightly bloated diaper. She played on the swings as the poo went all over the inside of her diaper and got into the first layer of plastic pants. She had pooped so much not even the big, thick diaper could hold everything. She kept playing and every now and then would crawl around, staying away from Jane, letting out a small fart every now and then. She would play with the diaper and clench the front part of the diaper. She had even had to pee and peed in the diaper, making it massive, with all the pee and poo. It smelt horrible and the other children would stay well away from her. Jane, about an hour later, got up to find Molly and saw her sitting along in the sand pit. She had pooped so much in the diaper that there was some poo in the sand that had leaked from the diaper. She then said, "Oh. Looks like baby Molly had a little accident. Come on honey, let's get that icky, yucky dirty diaper off." She took Molly by the hand and took her to the grassy plain. She took off her plastic pants and saw the poo and said, "Looks like baby did a big, messy poopy. Can you say poopy for mommy?" She smiled down at little Molly and asked with her long, blonde hair coming down over her face. Molly felt like a real baby with a real poopy diaper with a real mommy giving her some patronization, which kind of made her feel good. She said, "Poopy diaper mwimmy." "That's right, Molly. Very good." Now crawl in your poopy diaper and let me take a picture of that big poopy Pampers diaper. She took the picture and thought it was so cute that Molly had pooped her diaper so bad. She began to undo the tapes. Wow, baby did a big one for mommy. One day, maybe you can wear baby dry again when you only pee-pees. Can you say pee-pee for mommy? Molly thought this was fun and said pwee-pwee in the most babyish tone she could say it in. The diaper drooped so much that the gap between her leg and the diaper was almost an inch. There was clearly a large lump at the bottom of the diaper which looked like a bomb of baby poo. It was possibly the most poopy diaper that Jane had ever changed. As she wiped Molly with the baby wipes, she asked her if she liked the pretty little drawings on the front of the diapers. Molly loved the diaper and said, "Yeth mommy, they pretty." Jane, herself, had always loved Pampers just for the design. They were perfect and Huggies diapers would never hold this much poo-poo from baby Molly. After she changed her diaper, she took both Bailey and Molly home for their naps, which lasted until Molly's mother got back home. At home, Molly was put into Pampers Baby Dry, as Jane wasn't planning another poopy diaper. However, halfway through her nap, Molly began to feel the need to poo. Obviously, the effects of the milk of magnesia hadn't worn off yet. She tried to hold it in but completely lost it after about 5 minutes, and she felt her bum being squished with poo and the warmth it gave her. She sat there and glanced at the clock, seeing that she still had half an hour until her mommy got home. She would just pretend to be sleeping and hope Jane would notice the smell. As time went on, Jane walked past her room and smelt a horrible odor which she thought was Bailey. She picked up Bailey and said, "AW, did baby do a little poopy for mommy?" She then did the finger check only to see that her baby was nice and powdered in a dry diaper. It was Molly, not again, she thought. Jane came into the room and picked up Molly and really smelt the poo coming from the diaper. She picked Molly up and took her to the changing table, where she took off her skirt, noting that she should wear an onesie to make diaper changing so much easier. She slid off her skirt and looked at the diaper, which looked so cute on Molly. She undid the tapes while Molly had her legs wide open to reveal the poopy mess. "Wow, baby did a real smelly poopy this time, didn't she?" asked Jane, knowing the answer already. "Yeth mommy, it's the milk, mommy. I know it is, honey, that's what makes it magic milk." She undid the green tapes and began to clean up her mess. As she was just wiping her bottom, Melissa arrived home, looking straight across the halls to the poopy diaper change. Jane was standing over the changing table smiling down at Molly when Melissa came in. Jane said, "Hi Melissa, how was work?" "Oh, it's always a bore, must take a few days off this week." "Oh, sure thing, Melissa. Look, Molly is just getting her third poopy diaper changed for the day. Let me finish the change, one should never get a baby unattended." Melissa sighed as she walked into the kitchen and poured herself a glass of orange juice as she settled down to the evening. She could hear Jane in the other room saying, "Molly, can you say ducky for me? Quack quack." She laughed as she spoke. She began to go through the ABCs saying A, B, and C. "Wow, you're a smart baby." She took the baby powder bottle and scattered it all over her diaper area and applied some diaper lotion to make sure her skin wasn't irritated by the dirty diapers that day. She pulled up the tapes on the Pampers Baby Dry diaper and patted Molly on the bottom, saying, "Jump down, kiddo." Jane walked with Molly into the kitchen to where Melissa was sitting. Melissa started by hugging Molly and saying, "I've heard you've been a very poopy little girl today, is that true?" "Yeth mommy," replied Molly. The two women spoke about the day and Molly sat on the couch. Jane soon said bye to the both of them and loaded her changing table into the trunk of her SUV and woke Bailey as she strapped her into the back seat. That evening, Molly took her favorite teddy and settled down to sleep on the couch while watching TV. Jane had left an entire box of Pampers Cruisers, which Melissa thought was so nice of her, especially in this unsure time. That night, she did research on the Pampers website and found that Easy UPS were only great for children beginning kindergarten or the first grade who still had little issues with the potty in terms of peeing. She went back to the living room to find the TV still on and another Pampers commercial came on the screen, this time advertising the new Easy UPS, which could absorb a bit of a child's pee while they were at school to avoid accidents. Melissa thought that she could always send Molly to school with those on and arrange special times to change the diapers at school by a school nurse. The evening went only slowly and Melissa found Molly in a dry diaper, already asleep. She scooped up Molly and put her in her bed in just her diaper. She gave Molly a kiss right above her diaper and then went to sleep. That night, she decided to take Molly to her mother's house for a couple of days, as she lived in the countryside and they could both relax for about 3 or 4 days. As morning came, Melissa was excited to tell Molly the trip to Grandma's for the day and found her already awake. She was there in her diaper looking at Melissa. "Good morning, Mommy," said Melissa, which was returned by a hug and her being scooped up into her mother's arms. The puffiness of the diaper pressed against Melissa's arm and she smiled knowing her baby girl was dry once again. As she made breakfast, she told Molly about the plan to go to Grandma's house for the week, which was out on the lake. Molly was all the happier to go and quickly got ready in panties and her dresses. She was ready within an hour, at the bottom of the stairs waiting for her mom. As her mom came down, she didn't notice a diaper bulge at the back of her skirt and so she asked, "Are you wearing your diapers?" which Molly responded by saying, "Mommy, do I really have to wear diapers to Grandma's house?" "Well, yes, sweetie, you seem to uncontrollably poop and pee in your diapers. Do you think you're gonna stay dry like that?" "I don't think so, honey." She took Molly by the hand and took her to her room, and laid her down on the bed. She took off her tights, skirt and panties and then asked if Molly wanted to wear the Pampers Cruisers or the Pampers Baby Dry. Melissa really wanted to see Molly waddle hopelessly in baby diapers again. Molly responded by saying, "Baby Dry, Mommy," which Melissa answered, "It's a long trip, sweetie, and we won't be stopping to do poopies, so I think you better wear Cruisers for the trip and then you can change into Baby Dry at Grandma's house." "Okay, Mommy," replied Molly. Melissa just walked across the room and opened the box of Cruisers to find a wonderful smell of baby diapers reaching her nose. They were in neat rows, all with the most adorable Sesame Street characters on them. Melissa picked out one, which had the Cookie Monster on it and looked at it confidently. Molly was still sat there with her legs wide apart waiting to be put into a new diaper. Melissa took the diaper and said, "Right, baby, lift your bottom," as Molly did so. Melissa felt the soft skin of Molly's bottom and but the nice, snug, but large diaper on Molly, pulling it over the front looking at the drawing saying, "Aren't they just too cute?" She then took the baby powder and powdered her baby girl really well and put on some baby lotion. She then pulled up Molly and patted her on the bottom and told her to wait for her at the car. Melissa, in the meantime, prepared the diaper bag for trip. She took 6 Pampers Cruisers diapers and about 25 Pampers Baby Dry diapers. This was going to be a fun weekend. As Melissa got to the car, she opened the garage door and buckled up Molly and got into the front seat. Molly had her legs spread across the back seat with ponytails in her hair, and her diaper easily visible right in her crouch. She looked like a 2-year-old. As they moved north up to Oklahoma City, Molly needed to pee badly and asked her mommy if they could stop, but there simply was not a place to stop for the next 10 miles. Molly tried to hold on to her pee but let it go into her diaper, making it warm, but nice, like a baby. As she sat in the back seat, her legs were getting pushed apart from the thick diaper swelling up with the pee. They arrived at her grandma's house just south of Oklahoma City after 4.5 hours. As Melissa got the bags out of the trunk, Molly went up to the door and knocked loudly. Her grandmother came to the door saying, "Oh sweetie, what a surprise. Where's your mother?" "Oh," said Molly, "she's over there." "Hi Melissa, come on in, and settle down after that long drive." Melissa walked in and set the bags down with the bag of Pampers Baby Dry in plain view. Her mother, who was called Abigail, asked, "Is Molly wearing diapers now?" I felt a large bulge in her behind when I hugged her. Yeah, she wears Pampers Baby Dry, you'd never believe how cute they look on her. It all started almost a week ago at McDonald's when she wet herself and didn't know why or when. After that, she started pooping in the diapers too, without noticing. She can sleep all night and keep dry, but she can go through about 3 to 5 poopy diapers a day. Wow, that's a real regression we got on our hands. Melissa, aren't you going to help her? She needs the diapers for now or the next week, but she'll be in Pampers Easy Ups in 2 weeks, which she can wear to school like normal underwear. Do you want to go put the bags down with me, Mom, in my room? I also think that Melissa needs a diaper change after that long trip. Yeah, sure, honey, I'm coming. Wow, Melissa, you brought a lot of diapers. Oh, the smell is so cute, and the pictures, oh. How cute. I knew you'd like them, Mom, they're just so cute, and she likes the Sesame Street characters. I'm gonna change her into a pair of Baby Dry now as they're more comfortable for her. They walked into the room where Molly was sat, in her skirt and diaper. Molly, we need to get that diaper changed, don't we, sweetie? Yeth, Mommy, I's all wet mwimmy, replied Molly. As Molly sat on the bed, Melissa undid her skirt and pulled it down to reveal the bloated, slightly yellow diaper. Oh, looks like Molly did a wee-wee, said her grandma. Oh, baby did a pee-pee, didn't she, said Melissa. Her legs were wide open and Melissa started to undo the tapes as Grandma watched. She pulled down the front of the diaper and said, oh, we're all wet. You want Pampers Baby Dry now, Molly? Yeth, please, Mommy, replied Molly. Melissa wiped Molly clean and slid another diaper under her bottom and put some baby powder before she sealed it shut. Grandma approached her and said she looks just adorable in just her diaper. It's hot out. Why doesn't she just wear a diaper? Good idea, replied Melissa. Molly then sat up and Melissa just picked her up saying, come on, baby, taking her into the veranda. Melissa then started speaking to her mother and began to say, you can tell she is still a bit of a baby on the inside, can't you? I think she needs some time to mature. Her mother replied by saying, I think she's a bit of a baby on the outside, as she looked at the diaper. The three of them sat outside, Melissa in a deck chair with her hair untied and her sunglasses on, while her mother rocked Molly to sleep in her arms. They sat out there for about 3 hours, and Abigail, Melissa's mother, really began to love that Molly was a baby again. She began to talk to Melissa about making her even more babyish for the week. She asked, Molly is so cute as a baby, and I was thinking, what if we gave her a bottle to drink, and some pacifiers with some baby toys? She would be the most adorable baby you could imagine. As the day went on, they slowly went inside where they laid Molly down on the couch. She slept with her diaper in clear view and they both looked at her with admiration for being such a big girl. As she slept, she wet her diaper, making it soggy and wet. Melissa and her mother had a coffee that afternoon and didn't realize her wet diaper for another 40 minutes. When they realized, Abigail volunteered to change her diaper. She scooped Molly up, who woke up as they walked into the bedroom. Along the side of the wall there was a large pile of her diapers, and the Pampers Cruisers box right next to it. Melissa had brought the whole box of 256 diapers. Abigail couldn't wait to change Molly's diapers for the 3 or 4 days that they would be there. She laid Molly down on the bed and slowly undid the tapes, saying in a motherly tone, did baby have an accident? I think she did. With a babyish giggle coming back from Molly, she proceeded to wiping her bottom and diaper area. She soon was powdering her and rubbing it into Molly's skin as she pulled the diaper back over Molly's front. She patted her on the bottom and said, that's a good baby, and sent her off to play. The next day both women decided to have some fun with Molly in diapers. They decided to buy a changing table, more toys, including rattles and even the pacifiers. As they left the store that day, Melissa went back to get some formula milk, which she thought she might add some milk of magnesia to let Molly really use her diapers. She came back to the checkout to pay, and they both left. Molly was still at home, and as she sat with her legs wide apart, she played with toys in the front of her diaper. She was now wearing a diaper with a puppy on the front, which made her feel really babyish. When Grandma and her mother got home, they built the changing table and let Molly suck on the pacifier, which was captured in many pictures. Melissa made Molly a bottle of milk and added some of the M&M which she thought would be cute. As she went outside, she scooped up Molly and gave her the bottle to drink as she made her way to the deck chairs. She sat down and put Molly in her arms as she gently cooed to her and watched as she suckled on the nipple of the bottle. The scene seemed right out of a Pampers commercial, as the beautiful mother fed her baby, who was wearing puffy, bright diapers. As Molly was still awake, Melissa looked down at her and they both made eye contact from mother to baby. After half an hour, Molly began to feel her stomach turn and the general need to poo. She whispered to her mommy that she needed the potty, which her mommy just responded to by cooing even louder and saying now, which set her back to rest. She tried to hold it in but it simply was too much. After 2 minutes of squirming, she let out a small fart which told Melissa that she was about to go poo-poo in the diaper. Melissa smiled to herself as she felt the mush come spewing out into the diaper, spreading everywhere around her arm, as it filled the diaper. She looked at Molly, who now looked up in despair, which was met by Melissa's motherly cooing. They stayed there for 15 minutes with Molly in a poopy diaper, as it filled the air. Melissa, after a while, began to get up and she held Molly over her to examine her mess. She looked right under the diaper where the odor was coming from, and there was a large lump at the very bottom of her diaper like a ball. She spoke to her like a baby and said, "Looks like mommy's milk made baby do a poopy." Molly just giggled as she brought Melissa over to play as she changed her diaper on the changing table. She laid her down and began to undo the tapes when Melissa pooped again with the diaper open. Molly said, "Uh-oh, mommy, I did another poopy. Looks and smells like you did, sweetie." She gave Molly her ABC book as she changed the diaper with what seemed like 50 wipes. That week went by quickly and the diapers did too, with plenty of poopy diapers from Molly. As they returned to Wichita Falls and the weeks went by, the summer began to come to a close and Melissa began to wonder how she would Molly ready for school again. About a week before school began, she took Molly to Walmart to choose the Pampers Easy UPS she would wear. She picked up the ones with the princesses on the crotch, which still looked adorable on Molly. As Molly always wet in her sleep now, and pooped in her Easy UPS about once every 2 to 3 days, time was short and Molly looked like she might need diapers for school if she wasn't going to get poop and pee all over her desk at school. On the last day before school began, Molly pooped in the Easy Ups, causing them to leak tremendously, sending poo all over the floor. Melissa cleaned up the mess and realized that it was not realistic for Molly to return to school wearing Easy Ups. Melissa, the day before, had gone to speak to the principal about Molly's issue, which was accepted by the teachers and staff. Melissa said, "Look, Mrs. Forstall, Molly is still wearing diapers, and I don't mean Easy UPS or pull-ups, I mean Pampers Baby Dry disposable diapers with the full-on baby diaper look. Molly seems to not be able to stay dry at home and sometimes messes her diaper. We have tried to potty train her countless times, but although our relentless efforts, she still pees and poos in her diaper sometimes without noticing." She asked the principal if there was any way that Molly could get her diapers changed at school. The principal replied by saying, "Of course, that's not a problem. We have school nurses who can change her diaper any time of the day. If you want, we can go speak to them now." As she finished her sentence, the principal got out of her seat to reach the door. Melissa followed. They both walked in the school corridors until they reached a building called the Health Center and Nursery. As they entered, the nurses were preparing the rooms for the next day, when school began. The principal introduced Melissa to Janet and Deborah, who were the nurses at the school. They began speaking about Molly and Melissa described Molly's problem to the nurses and whether they could take her for diaper changes approximately every 2 hours. As they spoke, the nurses asked about what kind of diaper she wore and were quite surprised to hear that she wore Pampers Baby Dry for night and Pampers Cruisers for the day. Melissa simply stated that Molly would sometimes poop in her diaper and therefore needed the security that the Pampers Cruisers provided. The nurses were very understanding and were ready to meet Molly the next day. That night, Melissa spoke to Molly about how school would be. As she was changing her poopy diaper that night, she began speaking to her by saying, "Molly, you know school is tomorrow. Are you excited?" Molly simply said back, "Yeth, mommy, but what are the other kids gonna say about my diapers?" Melissa replied by saying, "Don't worry what other kids say, just walk into school with confidence." Molly was a bit confused about what the word confidence meant but did not care to ask. Melissa told Molly that she should go to the nursery every 2 hours to get her diapers changed. She was to speak to Deborah as soon as she got in who would be changing her diapers. Molly was pleased to know that her diapers wouldn't be stinky and lumpy all day. The next day, Molly went to school in a pair of Pampers cruisers with 2 pairs of plastic pants over the top. When she was at school, she wore a uniform and the skirt was short and wide. Although she was wearing a very fluffy, plump, and bulging diaper, she did not care and she walked straight to the health center just as her mother had told her. She was greeted by 2 beautiful young nurses, Deborah and Janet, who both had long, brunette hair. Deborah began speaking to Molly about the diaper changing and said, "Look honey, don't you worry about your poopis and wee-wees, cause you'll be coming here every 2 hours to get your diaper changed unless the teacher sends you here." She told her to just concentrate on her school and that diapers were another issue that her loving hands would take care of. As Molly left, she looked at the walls that were colored in pink and blues with the letters of the alphabet all around the ceiling and the numbers 1, 2, 3 written all over the wall. There were pink clouds on the ceiling and the center was full of kindergartners. The nursery was fit with rocking chairs, but only had training pants, easy-ups and pull-ups. She was confused why there were no real baby diapers, like Baby Dry, or at least she didn't see the big green boxes with the babies on the front. After visiting the nursery, she went to her first class, which was mathematics, that Monday morning. She was greeted by her classmates from last year and Mrs. Stately at the desk at the front of the class. As she sat down and put her pink backpack by her chair, she had realized that her diaper crinkled really loudly and was really very obvious. As she moved to sit down, she was fortunate that no one heard the sound. It was only 3 lessons into the day that a boy had turned around and seen the white baby diaper in the middle of her crouch. Other than the fact that the diaper crinkled, she had no idea that someone had seen her diaper. 2 hours after the first class began, the teacher asked her to go to the nursery to see Nurse Deborah, which was heard by the whole class, causing seas of laughter from her classmates, which made the situation worse for her. As she got to the nursery, Nurse Deborah was waiting at the changing table for her, when she greeted her saying, "Well, hey there baby, now you just come right over here." As Molly walked over to Deborah, the nurse pulled down her skirt to reveal her diaper and plastic pants. She noted the fact that the diapers were so cute with the Sesame Street characters on them. She quickly pulled down the plastic pants and said, "Well, you smell beautiful, you're clean honey." After that, she pulled up her plastic pants and skirt when she then patted her on the bottom saying, "You're a good girl." Molly then replied, "Thank you Mwimmy," without thinking that she had spoken in a baby tone. Deborah said, "I'm not your mommy, silly Billy, you can call me Nurse Deborah." "Can you say Nurse Deborah for me?" "Nurse Deborah," replied Molly hopelessly as she sucked on her thumb, closing the door behind her. "Bye baby," said Deborah, which was answered in a muffled tone, "Bye Nurse Deborah." As the day went on, she was sitting in her PE class as she was learning about aerobics. She was doing her daily warm-up around the track when she felt the need to pee. She knew she was at school, but she couldn't do it here, surely not. She ran for another 15 minutes and then sat down with the other kids to listen to the teacher. As she ran, the whole class heard the crinkle of her diaper and her PE skirt flew up and down, showing her cruiser's diaper, which was ridiculed by everyone. As she sat down, her bladder let go and she filled the diaper, making it yellow all over the crouch. Her diaper inflated slightly, but no one noticed she had peed in the diaper. As each lesson lasted 40 minutes, towards the end of the lesson, she felt the need to poop. She really couldn't poop in class, and she wasn't allowed out of the gym, so she held onto the mat as well as she could. She was able to hold until the end of the lesson and ran desperately to the bathroom to use the toilet. As she ran into the bathroom, it became harder and harder to hold her poo. She pulled down one layer of plastic pants ready to take off her diaper over the toilet, but failed, resulting in the poop filling her diaper from back to front, making it a slight tinge of brown at the back of the diaper. She felt the lump at the back of the diaper, but she loved the feeling because she was looking forward to being treated like a baby when she went for her diaper change at the nursery. She sighed and pulled up the plastic pants and pulled up her skirt again. She could only imagine how her classmates would react if they smelt her poopy diaper. As she got herself back together, she began her journey to the nursery. She waddled as she walked and got the poo all over her bum. Along the way, she also pretended to slip and fall on her bum, making her poo go all over her diaper. She felt like she was really wearing the loaded diaper after all. 2 minutes later, she got to the nursery and walked in to meet Deborah. Deborah was at the changing table changing a 5-year-old in pull-ups. She said, "Wait there, sweetie, I'll be round to change that icky diaper in a sec." As Molly waited a minute, the smell filled where she stood, and she knew that as soon as Deborah would come over to take her by the hand, she would smell the mess. She finished changing the 5-year-old and patted him on the bottom, saying, "Good boy, Dave." She then started walking towards Molly to change her diaper. As she got within 2 feet of Molly, she said, "Looks like baby did a big poopy for Nurse Deborah. You're a messy baby, aren't you, little one?" Molly said, "Yeth, Nursey Deborah me likes to move around in my squishy poopy diaper, oh, dirty baby." She said as she took her hand and they walked over towards the changing table, which had teddy bears in the corners and was painted pink with ABC blocks on the side. On the side, there was a large collection of diapers. This time a lot of them were baby dry diapers. She smelt the smell of fresh diapers coming from the shelves. The scent of baby powder filled the place as there were wall shelves with a collection of nearly 10 bottles of baby powder and lotion alone. This was going to be a fun school, for sure. Deborah told Molly to jump onto the changing table while she got the supplies. As she did sit on the changing table, the poop in her diaper squished even more against her bottom and the front looked as though it would blow up from how full it was. Deborah was a mid-sized stocky woman with a wide, motherly hips and long brunette hair. She was beautiful and wore wide-fitting jeans and looked as if she should have 2 infants on each hip. She had a beautiful, caring, maternal look to her eyes. She was a bit like Melissa. She liked to joke with poopy babies, but never hurt them. When Deborah returned, she had a diaper in her right hand and a bottle of lotion and baby powder in her left hand. She laid them next to Molly and began by taking off her skirt. She winced at the smell and said, "Wow, you're a real stinker," while Molly looked dreamily up at the pink clouds on the ceiling. Deborah stopped at the diaper in amazement. This diaper was full to the brim with poop, and although the diaper looked cute, it was stained brown with Molly's poop. The front, which hugged Molly's crouch like a newborn, was bloated and tainted a brownish yellow. She had never seen an 8-year-old girl in a Pampers Cruiser diaper to start with, apart from the fact that she pooped in it like a 1-year-old. The front of the diaper had an almost wave-like texture as the poo had collected in the crinkles of the diaper. The tapes of the diaper were tight around Molly and she was ready for a major diaper change. After 20 seconds of looking at Molly in her full diaper, Deborah said, "Wow, what a big poopy baby, with a big poopy diaper. Does my stinky little baby need a change?" Molly looked up between her legs, which were now wide apart, with her diaper still taped on when she, "Yeth, Nurse we Deborah." Deborah replied, "Oh. Nurse Deborah's gonna clean you all up, my little pumpkin." She began to undo the tapes and pulled down the front of the diaper to find that the front of Molly's diaper area was smudged with poo everywhere. She began to clean up her front diaper area when she began to ask, "Hey baby Molly, how would you like to come my baby shower this weekend? There will be plenty of other little tots just like you." "I don't know Nurse Deborah, me needs to ask mommy." Deborah instructed for Molly to pull up her bottom so that Deborah could clean her up. Here again, Deborah was shocked to find the amount of poop that was in the diaper. Her bottom had about an inch of poo all over it, which really convinced her that Molly wasn't needing training pants for a very long time. She wiped her bottom and rolled up the diaper into a ball and then began to powder Molly. She rubbed baby powder all over her and put a lot over her bottom to make it a little more comfortable for the baby, as she said. Molly sat up naked on the changing table and asked Deborah if she could wear some of the easy-ups because they crinkled less. Deborah quickly, jokingly replied, "I don't think so, baby Molly. That's only for babies who can't get quite all their pee-pee in the potty, not ones who make their diapers into poo-poo cakes, silly Billy." Molly understood, but she liked the little patterns on the diaper and really liked that she had to wear them, at least for a long time. Deborah pulled the diaper over the front and just looked at Molly's quizzical, baby-like expression through her wide-open legs spread apart from the diaper's bulge. She gave her a kiss on the forehead and said, "You're a good baby, but a real poopy one." As she did up the tapes on the new diaper, she loved the drawings on the front of the diaper, and thought that they were so much cuter than the training pants. Pampers were just the best baby diaper brand there was, the cutest anyway, by a mile. Deborah took Molly into her arms and put her onto the floor, as she was only half her height, being small for her age. She patted her on the bottom and put her skirt back on. She said, "Don't forget to ask your mommy to call me about the diaper shower, okay?" "Yeth worst Deborah," said Molly as she waddled out of the nursery. Deborah stood there looking at her waddle and thought it was the cutest thing she had ever seen, a big baby girl in big baby diapers doing a big baby waddle. That afternoon, when Molly went home, and after her snack said, "Mommy, worst Deborah invited us to a diaper shower on Day. She said you should call her." "Ooh, sounds good Molly, I'll call her now." Melissa went to the phone and picked up the phone and dialed the number hoping to go to the diaper shower, hoping to meet some other moms with poopy babies. "Hey there, this is Deborah Johnson, may I ask who's speaking?" said Deborah. "Oh hi Deborah, it's Melissa here, Molly's mom. I heard you were having a diaper shower this weekend, is that true? Did you just have a newborn? Congratulations." "Yeah I did, her name is Perla and she's only 2 weeks old," said Deborah. "Fabulous, I'm so happy for you. When is the diaper shower?" "This Saturday at 4 p.m. at my house, 156 Azalea Drive 57432. "I can't wait to come. Are there any other moms?" asked Melissa. "Yeah, all my girlfriends are coming over with their babies and toddlers. Molly will fit in great." "Well, I'll see you there then, bye." As the week went on, Molly had several more poopy diapers that Deborah had to change and some very wet ones too. On Friday afternoon, she was sitting in her English classroom when she wet her diaper so bad that her teacher saw it in her diaper turning yellow in her crotch area. She immediately told her to go to the nursery for a diaper change, which came with jeers of laughter from the class. Molly was confident by now and didn't care what the other children laughed about in her class. The next day, as Melissa was getting ready for the diaper shower, she went to buy some Pampers swaddlers for a gift at the shower and made a diaper cake out of it with plenty of pink ribbon for the little girl. She neatly packed Molly's diaper bag, which was a cutesy pie, feminine Cath Kidston flowery bag. She put in 9 baby dry diapers, 2 bottles of milk and 1 with orange juice, and baby wipes. When they arrived at Deborah's house, she saw that there were babies and toddlers crawling and waddling around the yard in just their diapers. Some were wearing cloth diapers, others Huggies, and others Pampers. She thought the event was so perfect for Molly to be in her diaper with other babies rather like her. As she came, she took in Molly and her diaper bag, and asked Debbie where she could lay Molly. She simply said, "On the grass is fine, with the other babies." Molly was plopped onto the grass, and as she sucked on her pacifier, she looked around at the other babies playing in the grass. She was looking forward to the ultimate baby party. She watched as other loving mothers scooped up their babies and went to change their diapers right in front of her, and thought that in a minute the same would be happening to her. The other mothers were talking about how she was such a cute, but big baby. Deborah also added, "Look at those cute diapers too. I change her poopy diapers every day at school." As other mothers drank the fruit punch, they breastfed and spoke about the babies. 2 minutes later, Melissa arrived with the big diaper cake, which Deborah was delighted to see. "Beautiful for my baby girl, Melissa, thank you," she said. The other mothers had brought several packs of diapers, baby wipes, and other baby accessories. As Molly looked around and began to crawl in just her diaper, without a shirt, she began to need to pee. This time, she did not restrain and let it wet her diaper, which soon turned yellow around the crotch area. The other mothers saw it, and as Melissa was in the kitchen, they decided to change her diaper for her. One of them said, "Wow, what a big baby we've got here, looks like you're wet, sweetie." She then laid her down and began to change her diaper. "Well, what's your name then?" "Bwabi Molly," replied Molly. She said, "Where's your mommy, baby Molly?" All Molly did was shrug her shoulders and look at her through her legs. "Well, my name is Pamela, I'm Ryan's mom, he's over there." Ryan was a 2-year-old who was wearing a thick terry diaper which seemed much bigger than her Pampers Cruiser's diaper. He was playing in a sand pit and drooling all over place. "Are we gonna change this diaper, baby Molly?" "I think we will," as she undid the tapes. "Your diaper is real cute, sweetheart, do you like those pictures?" Molly nodded back and began to drink her bottle of milk. Pamela began to sing as she changed Molly's diaper. She began to sing the Barney theme song. Molly loved it and Pamela sang it louder and finished the song well after she had put the tapes back on her diaper. She said, "You're a good toddler in a diaper change. I bet you can stay real still for mommy." She then picked up Molly and put her in the sand pit, where she met the clumsy Ryan who had pooped his diaper while playing. Pamela picked him up and said, "Well, look what Ryan did for his mommy." Melissa came back and sat for the other women for the whole afternoon and got a chance to see Deborah's new baby, who was adorable as she swaddled in her sheets. She felt as though the diapers she had bought for her would fit her perfect. After seeing the babies and women sat for the rest of the evening when Melissa began to smell the odor of her own baby's Molly's diaper. Molly was crawling with a large lump at the back of her diaper which made the gazebo smell like her poopy diaper. Melissa scooped her up saying, "Oh, did baby do another poopy for mommy?" She picked her up and laid her in the grass as the other toddlers waddled around. She said, "The lady Pamela was so nice to change your diaper, don't you think? You know, honey, I think you're gonna be my baby for a long time, in those special baby diapers." As she was taping up her diaper, she felt the front and said, "Just too cute." She patted her bottom and off she went waddling with the other toddlers. For 4 hours straight she played with children half her age, and even a quarter of her age in the sand, with dolls and other toys. They played and she even pooped in her diaper again and thought about rolling around in it as she played and as if not knowing that she'd done it. She played in her poopy diapers and ended up with a very bloated diaper which was changed by another mother, Marina. She loved the feel of being a baby and almost not knowing she pooped her diaper. She looked at other baby diapers but concluded that hers were definitely the most fit for a baby princess. As the party ended, they said their goodbyes and Molly climbed back into the truck after 6 hours of playing, which was far past her bedtime. She had gone through 2 poopy diapers and 2 wet ones and had a total blast. The next day was Sunday and she went to Mass in her Pampers Cruiser's diaper which she accidentally peed in, halfway through the Mass. She was dressed in her best dress but you could see her diaper from the back easily. The adults all commented on how cute the diapers looked on her. As she ran around after Mass her dress would fly up and you could see the cute diaper underneath. You could also hear the soft crinkle in every step. As the autumn began to end, winter was becoming to show itself and that meant Christmas. Molly was looking forward to the family reunion at her grandmother's lake house on the 22nd of December this year and it was going to be the best time to be a baby. She would get baby presents and baby time, and she also had a 2-year-old cousin Angela who wore the same diapers as she did. They would make good friends, especially with Christmas. As autumn left Wichita Falls it brought a new light to the city and its people. On the last day of November, when there was a massive snow blizzard while Molly was at school, she had to stay there for the night because there simply was not vehicle access. The boys and girls had to sleep in the classrooms but Molly thought it was hard being away from mommy for so long. Molly had slept next to her friend Ruth who was always really nice to Molly even though everyone ridiculed her. As Molly slept with her diaper in plain view, the whole class found it hard not to giggle. They laughed at how babyish the diaper was to start with, as it wasn't even discreet. The diaper was large and really hugged around her bottom, making it look plump and large to the whole class. She was ridiculed that night so much that she ended up wetting the diaper in her sleep, which everyone saw when the yellow tinge showed up on the couch. Perhaps what was the funniest to the class was the diaper change routine she had to follow with Deborah every couple of hours. They knew she went to get her diapers changed, and they even knew she pooped in her diapers like a true infant. Christmas was a new horizon for her and her mother. They were going to be with the family through an exciting part of the year with lots of snow to play in and carols to sing. When the Christmas break began on the 19th of December, Molly went straight home to get the diapers she would need, the changing table, and bottles, milk, juice, and clothes. Her mother realized that the box of Pampers Cruisers only had 2 diapers left and that she had to get to the store fast if they were going to leave in a couple of hours, considering the distance they would have to travel, all the way to South Dakota. At 5 o'clock that afternoon, Molly was put into a clean baby dry diaper and taken out to Walmart, where they bought a 150-pack of Pampers Cruisers, 3 milk bottles, orange juice, and more clothes for the winter. At the cashier the amount came to be $125, and she paid willingly and took off, putting the massive box of diapers in the trunk with the changing table on top and the 2 bottles of milk formula in the car. Molly began sucking on her bottle as she watched the Texan winter sun go down that evening. She eventually peed in her diaper, leaving her wet until her mother pulled into a Comfort Inn along the road about 3 hours after they left. Her mother took the changing table, filled the diaper bag with enough diapers for a few changes, and went in desperate to find a room for the both of them. As they entered the hotel, the lady at the counter said, "Wow, is that changing table for her?" "Yuppo, she's a diaper baby all right," replied Melissa. "Oh, that's cute, we usually get babies but not that big." "Yeah, she gets that a lot. Look, do you guys have a room for the both of us?" "Yeah, room 216, right on your right for a special of $49. "Great, we'll take it." "Good night, young lady," said Melissa as she took the key and went to the room. She opened the door and set down her bags and said, "We're almost there, baby Molly, you just hold on." "Oh, does someone need a diaper change?" said Melissa in a motherly tone. "Ooh," muffled Molly as she still sucked on her pacifier. She took out her baby's pacifier and took off her shoes, then her skirt and eventually her diaper. "Well, baby's all wet, isn't she?" said Melissa in a quiet, soothing voice as she looked at Molly, who was now sucking on her pacifier again. After the diaper change, they settled down to bed, and Melissa took out 1 Pampers Cruiser and put it on Molly and felt it as she lay her baby in bed. She loved having another baby. The next morning, Molly woke up dry and they both got in the car at 7 a.m. and headed for the freeway. They were soon hitting the South Dakota border and Molly was getting more and more excited as she sucked on her bottle. She couldn't wait to show Grandma and Grandpa, Uncle Joey, Aunt Linda, and her cousins how much of a baby she was. On the way, Melissa picked up a foldable crib at the local Walmart, which she folded into the car for use at the house in South Dakota. When they got there, they were the first along with Grandma and Grandpa by a couple of days. They still had 2 days until the rest of the family were scheduled to arrive. They all greeted each other after a couple months of not having seen each other, and Grandma loved that Molly was still wearing the same old, baby diapers. The Pampers Cruisers, maybe with the cutest prints she had ever seen. When they were there, after a day, Molly pooped in her diaper while playing in the snow outside and sat around in it, feeling the warmth of the poo against her bottom contrast with the cold of the snow. She crawled around in the snow in her long fluffy jacket and thick winter pants. She had an obvious diaper bulge and was on her hands and feet sucking on her pacifier as she played with her poopy diaper. As Grandma looked outside, she saw the lump in the back of the diaper and went outside to take little Molly in for a diaper change. She scooped her up and said, "Looks like baby did a poopy," as she felt the lump of warm poo in the seat of her cute diaper. Molly said, "Will you change me, Grandma?" "Oh, course Grandma will, I love you baby Molly." She took her in and laid her on the changing table and quickly took off her thick pants and looked at the big poopy diaper with amazement, seeing how much she had filled it. She lowered the front of the diaper and sighed, "Phew, what a stinky little diaper we have here, eh?" She began to wipe Molly like she would have done 6 years ago, and this sprung up fantastic memories for her of when Molly was just a real small baby. She thought it was great to see her daughter's baby come alive again. After all, Molly was childish for her age, very childish. As the days went on, soon came her relatives who all thought she was adorable, seeing the diapers, the changing table, the pacifiers, the way she spoke, milk bottles, and the diaper bulge she wore all the time. Molly was not ashamed, on the contrary, she was proud of being a big girl for sometimes getting all her poopy and pee-pee in the potty. Linda, her aunt, always changed her when Melissa was out, and she loved cooing to her and breastfeeding her as well, her own daughter. She would find the time when she changed her diaper so special to almost get to know her or share some special time together. When she saw how well the Pampers Cruiser's diapers worked, she used them for her daughter, who was almost 3 and big for her age. She loved the way the diapers made her so cute, and she wanted the same for her baby. Her cousins, who were 3, 14, and 16, all loved spending time with Molly. Molly played with her 3-year-old cousin almost every day, and the 2 girls of 14 and 16 would play as mothers, cooing them and changing their diapers in a fun way with plenty of baby talk like, "Can you say diaper for me, sweetheart?" which was often answered by goo-gaa or other baby sounds. When the special days came, the 24th and 25th, the celebrations were great. They had turkey, and the 2 girls, in diapers, sat in high chairs, and Melissa loved how her daughter was really being treated like a baby. Molly would mess her diapers sometimes for fun or because she forgot, or even because her mother would put milk of magnesia in her milk. The women, Melissa, Linda, Grandma, and the girls would all have fun by treating Molly like a total baby with baby songs, cute diapers, baby food, and all sorts of fun. The 24th of December was special for the whole family as Molly sat sucking her pacifier as she sat with a big diaper bulge, either wet, messy, or dry. They shared special family memories that they would never forget, and Molly would sleep in her crib at night with a bottle and always wake up with her incredibly full diaper, which was changed with plenty of enjoyment from either of the 5 women. Sometimes they would crowd around the changing table and play with her as she got her diaper changed. After Christmas supper, Molly continued to play in just her diaper as she looked at her dolls under the Christmas tree. She crawled around and she had, at this point, become the baby of the family. She played in just her diaper and pacifier as the family looked at her admirably. After about 2 hours, her stomach began to rumble and her bladder began to ache as she had drunk about 3 bottles of milk while at the table. She waddled around the house knowing she would both pee and poop in her newly changed, fresh Pampers baby dry diaper. As she crawled into the hall, she wet her diaper, which she felt spread around her legs, making her diaper bloated, but even more comfortable. The pee felt warm in her diaper area, and as she crawled under the women sitting at the table, she pooped in her diaper. Her 16-year-old cousin was looking down at the floor as she crawled when she saw the big load drop into the back of the diaper. She saw the large lump which would soon reach all of their noses. For about 30 seconds, she looked at Molly in her diaper and thought of how cute she looked. It wasn't long until the other women had smelt the diaper and done the finger check that they were sure that baby Molly had done a big poo-poo. Her aunt quickly began to waft at the air saying, "Oh, smells like baby did a poo-poo." She quickly scooped her up and went to change her diaper. The whole family heard the two as her aunt cooed to her and spoke to her in baby talk. On the 25th of December, Molly got up early to go see what Santa had brought. As she was sleeping in a crib, she had to cry as if she had an accident in her diaper to get out. She cried for about 20 minutes until Melissa finally came in and said, "Oh, did little baby do a poopy in the night?" as she proceeded to pick her up. Turns out that Molly had peed her diaper until it was completely yellow. Melissa set down Molly on the changing table as Molly squirmed around like a 3-year-old. Melissa bent over to get another diaper from the bag, which she greeted Molly with by saying, "Now you hold real still for mommy while she changes that diaper." Melissa changed her diaper and cooed at her as she wiped her diaper area. Molly was soon up in a fresh new diaper, ready to see her presents. Molly wanted to run to the tree, but Melissa quickly scooped her up and said, "Nah, let's not try to run before we can walk." She took Molly in her arms to the tree to see the presents. By now, Grandma was awake and fixing pancakes as Christmas music played in the background. The TV was on and slowly, the whole family was going to the kitchen for some pancakes. As they ate, the TV was on and on came a Pampers Baby Dry commercial which resounded through the whole house. The woman on the TV said in a soft voice, "New Pampers Baby Dry, giving your baby a delicate, yet flexible diaper, even in the prime of play." It showed a woman running after her baby who was a little girl in a diaper. Molly noticed it and said, "Am I like that Mwimmy?" "Yes, sweetheart," replied Melissa, "forever mommy's little poopy baby." At the end, it showed a scene of a diaper change between a mother and daughter which was rather like the past few days. The women laughed and spoke in baby talk to Molly for the rest of the day. After Molly finished breakfast, Melissa carried her over to the tree to open the presents with everyone else. When they sat down, Molly was just in her PJ top and her diaper showing. She didn't care what the family thought, as she could only care about the presents. Her 14-year-old cousin began by opening her present, and it was a new makeup kit which she had wanted for months. She, of course, didn't believe in Santa Claus but still thanked Santa and tried it on a few hours later. Molly saw a package which had little ABC blocks which she imagined was for her. The box was very wide and long. She had no idea what it was. As the other presents began to disappear from under the tree, as everyone was enjoying their gifts, she decided to begin stripping the packaging herself. When she tore the first layer, she saw a box filled with 15 onuses. The present was from her cousin's mother, Angela. She said, "Thank you so much, Angela, we'll make diaper changing at home and school way easier." "Thank you so much." Molly examined one as the two women spoke, and Melissa saw Molly's confused expression and decided to explain the use for such a garment. She said, "Look honey, this is where Nurse Deborah will pull down to change your dirty diaper. She just pulls on these two straps while you're on the changing table and will take off your skirt and clean you up." Melissa said, "Come on honey, let's try one on, even in the house." Molly wanted to try one on, so she simply picked out the first one, which was turquoise with pink little babies on it. Her mother set her down on the floor under the table, slid her feet into the bottom of the onesie and pulled it up and strapped her under her diaper. At this point, the onesie really emphasized her diaper, which came out in a 3-inch bulge. Angela said, "Oh, absolutely adorable, they'll be great at school under a skirt." Melissa agreed as they began to look at the other contents of the box. Molly took out another box which had different baby patterns with which to decorate her room with. They included numbers, ABCs, and little puppy dogs that would look great over the changing table. Molly was also given a 72 pack of Pampers Baby Dry diapers, which was very much admired by her mother considering the cost of the diapers. She looked at the box and saw the baby sat in the diaper on the front, which strongly reminded her of her diapered daughter. As the day went on, as Molly is playing in the snow in just her onesie, she felt the need to pee. As she played in the snow with her cousins, she peed in her diaper, which inflated the crotch area of her diaper considerably. When her cousins saw that her diaper bulge had increased by at least a third, they scooped her up and said, "Did baby have an accident?" as Molly began to cry. She felt helpless but didn't really care because she knew that by crying she was even more babyish. Molly was changed and the day went on with plenty more poopy diapers. Christmas was a great experience for the whole family and the women got their fair share of babying for the holidays. The weeks of winter went on and Molly entered spring still as a baby, maybe she would be one for years. When she went to school, she would wear an onesie under her skirt, which was quickly noted by the kids at school, which brought even more ridicule. She didn't care though because being a baby was great for her. As her skirt bulged by a good 4.5 to 5 inches, her big diapered bottom was fairly obvious. She knew it was better for Mommy and Nurse Deborah when she needed a diaper change. She wore Pampers Baby Dry and Cruisers every night and day and was always well powdered at home by Mommy or by Deborah at school. Wherever she was diapered and treated like a baby, it was great for her, and she did really mature over the months. As her mother was thrilled with her decision months ago, she decided that the Molly would always be her baby girl, and she loved putting the cute baby dry diapers on her with Sesame Street characters on them for the both of them to enjoy. Melissa loved them because they really brought the baby out of Molly, and Molly thought the same. Years passed and Molly was still a baby until middle school. She still fit into a size 7 Cruisers diaper.